once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now. And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal. Go, go, go!
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Premier Sim Gaming League's YouTube channel for round number 4 of the glorious F1 PC Championship. And you might notice something a little bit different about the stream today. George, unfortunately, was not able to make it due to Wi-Fi issues, but I was luckily able to fill in. If you don't know who I am, my name is Dan, and today I'm being joined by the brilliant Jack Canan. Jack, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, fantastic. As always, Dan, it's PSGL Thursdays. Always a pleasure to be here on a Thursday evening. But yes, George, unfortunately, has suffered at the hands of Welsh Wi-Fi. It's gone down, and he's not going to be able to join us this evening. So it's myself and Dan Field. Of course, if you're watching F2, you'll know Dan's voice very much, but new to F1. So obviously, it's a big step up for him as well. So obviously, be giving plenty of support in the chat if you are here. We're here for the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. We're mirroring, of course, the real F1 calendar in this one, and it's also only the second time we've been here in this series in PSGL PC as well. So really looking forward to this race. Jarno won here last season comprehensively, so let's see if he can do it again. He leads the championship by 18 points into this round, so let's see how he gets on. But plenty of surprises from last week. Jake Benham getting himself on the second step of the podium for Haas that week, and then of course we had plenty of fighting down throughout the field. 4 wide down the Kemmel Straight in the end, but I don't think we're going to quite get that tonight here at Zandvoort, but I have been surprised before, Dan, with these guys.
Yeah, well, I personally wasn't even expecting the 4 wide in Belgium, and then it happened, so who knows what we can see at this very narrow and twisty circuit. Let's have a quick rundown of how the track looks. It is a 4.259 kilometre long circuit with 2 DRS zones for the drivers to utilise. Expect a lot of overtakes down at turn number 1, and then this track rounds off with 14 corners, and you can see the information showing up on your screen just now. 36 laps of this Grand Prix, and we're going to have most likely a soft to medium or soft to hard. I know that in F2 last night, drivers, if they started outside the top 10, they went on the mediums and then the softs towards the end, and that was a very favourable strategy. So we could see a lot of different mix-ups from these drivers today, and the world record time is a 1:16.5. But I'd imagine that we are going to get well below that. And still a relatively new circuit to the F1 games. Of course, it's only been on the last 2 games, this one and F1 2020. So the drivers might not be in a strong stead around this circuit as potentially other circuits. I'm really excited for this one, though.
Absolutely, yeah, of course. We had lots of action last season here at Zandvoort, but of course it was Jarno Watmer who came away with the win last time. So he's got the form heading into here, but it was a great fight between himself and Alvaro Caraton. Alessio Di Capua went very well here last season, picking up a spot on the podium. He's also here tonight as well. A couple of stand-ins in various teams, of course, because, well, some of them are moving away, of course, to focus on F1 Esports, which is coming up in a very short space of time. So some really nice names to see back on the grid, particularly Lewis Welch stepping in for Shanika Clay this week at Aston Martin. So the pad merchant is back. He's back on the grid. Great to see him there as well. Plenty of others as well. Dario Yumulo is back in at McLaren this week, replacing, of course, Josh Idowu. And Tomek Paradzic is now a permanent McLaren driver in PSGL now as well. Of course, we have others as well. Alessia De Capua, as I mentioned, is in at Williams this week as well. And a debut in PCF1 as well for Piotr Stachilec, who is filling in for Domenico Levecce tonight. And he steps in at Ferrari to take over the reins of that car. A couple of others that we have yet to see hop in the lobby. Just we're waiting for the lobby to get all set up and ready to go. So we are just waiting for everybody to get underway here. Also, Timon Schuter is back on the grid as well, filling in for Philip Preschneider this week. And he is, of course, obviously going to go well around here. The Dutch drivers, I think, Dan, looking to go very well here. Giarno, of course, Timon as well. Of course, they love Zandvoort, and I'm sure they're going to want to push even harder to get a win here.
Yeah, and speaking of Dutchmen, of course, how about we look at the championship standings before we get underway? And here's the winner from last week. He just looked to be the most dominant driver. Of course, he didn't have it in qualifying. He was so close to losing out to Jake Bentley. Just picked him by, I believe, 11 thousandths of a second. But he did manage to come out on top. And we'll see where that puts him in the driver's standings. And of course, Jarno Otmir with 2 wins so far this season. He sits on 44 points ahead of Danny Moreno, his teammate at Mercedes. They're 1 and 2 in the championship at the moment on 25. Lucas Blakely, though, not too far back, only 2 points shy of Danny Moreno in second. He sits in third. And then Jake Benham, after his brilliant performance last week in Belgium, certainly many people's driver of the day, he's in fourth on 20 points. Then Frederick Rasmussen, who ended up DNFing very early on in that Grand Prix. He's going to hope for a better Dutch Grand Prix. He sits on 16 points in 5th. And reserve driver Ruben Vallejo, who is filling in for a driver tonight, he is in 16th position. Shanika Clay in, not 16th position, 6th place on 16 points. Shanika Clay on 13 points, then Tom Parazic in 8 on 10, and then 2 drivers rounding out the top 10, both on 6 points. It's Nicholas Mateo and Simon Weigang, but this championship looking so close already.
Absolutely, and of course, remember the point system in PSGL is a little bit different to what you'd know in normal F1, and it's actually a point system that I personally prefer. It brings everything a little bit closer. Of course, 16 points for the win here, a maximum of 17 if you do score that fastest lap point as well. So Jarno already now has a race between himself and Danny in the championship. Lucas Blakely with his first podium of the season last time in Spa. Of course, just 2 points off of Danny Moreno, who made a very good recovery after his penalties and all that. And Jake Benham, a really great 4th place, I must say, in the championship there. So kudos to him for his efforts. We're still waiting for a few more to get into the lobby here. And we'll just be getting underway for full qualifying, of course, here at Zandvoort. Remember, Q1, Q2, and Q3 is what we've run here, of course, to get the grid set for the race. Last week we had a mixed conditions race, of course, where we had multiple different compounds of tyre on the track at once, intermediates, medium, softs, anything you could think of. That was what we had on the grid there, and well, it ended up being a really, really intriguing race. The first appearance of the safety car last season as well. But of course, I have to announce as well, McLaren, they're now focusing on F1 esports. Barry Burmand, as far as we know, not competing in the season any further, and he is, of course, now being permanently replaced by Tomek Paradzic. Dario Mulo temporarily stepping in for Josh Idowu for now. But well, actually, to be fair, Dan, this isn't a name I actually expected to see tonight, but great to see Freddie Rasmussen is back. And, well, he didn't have a great race last time. He ended up in the wall in the pit lane, but I think Freddie's got the bit between his teeth now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too far off of saying that Freddie Rasmussen is going to be one of the favourites coming into this race. We are not too far off of getting into qualifying. We do have just one little bit of information to give, and it is, of course, the constructors' standings. Mercedes, understandably, right out on top at the moment. 1 and 2 in the standings, they're on 50 points. And then Aston Martin, in second position. I'm not too sure if I've actually got the correct ones. I don't think I do, but we will get underway very shortly into this race. We're just waiting for... I believe we've actually got everyone in here. So we're going to have 18 minutes of qualifying first up, and then the bottom 5 drivers will be eliminated, and then 15 minutes of Q2. The next 5 will be eliminated, and then it is the top 10 shootout going hell for leather for that pole position. I'm really excited to see it tonight. I'm trying to think who potentially we could put forward for pole. And I think one of the clear options, and certainly one of the clear favourites, I can see everyone in the live chat always saying his name. It's Jarno Otmir, of course. I'd say he is a candidate for pole.
I think so. Yeah. He has the momentum from last season, of course, carrying him into this round. But I mean, we've had surprises. We nearly had Jake Benham on pole last time at Spa. It was just pipped by Jarno by 100th of a second. So this is going to be very, very close. I was keeping an eye on his Twitch, of course, to see how he's getting on. He's been practicing away with Danny, and we'll have to see. Danny, I think, is going to be certainly one to look at for pole as well. He hasn't got one this season, but I'm sure he's got some pace in there. Lucas Blakely, can't discount Lucas. He's taken pole before. He hasn't been able to convert it into a win, though. So let's see if he can do that. We're just counting down in the lobby there right now. Everybody's in. We're going to get underway now in just a few moments for Q1. We eventually got these guys all together in the lobby, and you'd be surprised how much organization it takes to get F1 esports drivers together in lobbies. There's actually sometimes they take ages because they're all sweating and practicing and getting every last little bit of practice they can into before they head into the race. But we are loading in right now. Q1 coming up in just a few moments time, and this is all about being in the top 15 drivers at the end. And don't be surprised, of course, it's tradition here at PSGL and Q1, and every time you see any kind of Q1 in league racing, don't be surprised to see guys out on the intermediate tyres if the track is dry. It's a simple tactic, getting a sighter lap in without wasting a set of dry tyres. So just keep your eyes peeled for that, and if you do see it, don't be surprised. That's all we say there. But Q1 is finally underway. Dan Carr's on the circuit in just a few moments, and we will get to see these guys going around Zandvoort. One of the shorter laps on this calendar, of course, just a 1:07, 1:08 lap around here. So looking forward to seeing who's going to nip pole, because it is going to be an incredibly close qualifying.
Absolutely, we do have one driver pulling out onto circuit at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. That is newly made and promoted to his McLaren seat. It is Tomek Perazit, and unsurprisingly on a set of the intermediate tyres. I've never been too sure as to these runs on the inters, but I think it's just for a little bit of rubber down on the circuit, and to not use a set of the dry compound of tyres. But we will see dry laps coming towards the end of this session, and as you said, this is a very short lap. We're going to be expecting, I'd imagine, low 107s. I think it might have been low 108s from last night, if I'm not mistaken, but very quick times around this 4.2 kilometer long circuit, and it is a fast one, because a lot of it is taken at high speed. There's not really many places to save up the ERS as well, so drivers do need to be careful of that pushing in the race. But in qualifying, they have no issues, as Tomek Perazit just coming onto the DRS straight now, and he'll be the first one to put in a lap.
Absolutely will, yeah. Having a look now at the TAS system to tell me what the weather is going to be for the next few moments. We're expecting a dry qualifying, but lo and behold, what have we got? The same thing as last week. We've got rain at the halfway mark of the race, so exactly the same. We're going to end in light rain. We're going to almost end in light rain conditions, but it could end up drying up just like it did last week. So don't go anywhere if you're going to watch the race. Of course, the race will have rain in it, as Freddie Rasmussen now is going to be one of the first to set a time. He comes across the start-finish line, down towards the first corner. He comes right now onto the brakes, nice and late, get it to the apex on the right-hand side, and you'll get an idea of how narrow and twisty this circuit is, up into the banked left-hander right here, getting it down to the apex quickly as he can, short shifting up to fourth gear, and flat out all the way down towards the next right-hander. Iconic corner coming up right here with the huge gravel trap on the left-hand side, the banked gravel trap. That'll catch you if you get it wrong. Through the right and into this now tight and twisty middle sector, flinging it in sixth gear down. A few more gears through the next right, then down towards the first DRS detection point just here with a short DRS straight. That's not going to affect too much, but it does have the benefit of getting you set up maybe for an overtake into this really, really tricky section. Now the stadium section, I like to call it, clipping that curb on the right, flick it back to the left again, and down towards the last corner, which we're going to head through the banking now in just a few seconds time, and a flat out last corner using that banking. You can see how amazing that banking is around to the last corner right now. Rasmussen is going to come across the line and set the benchmark in Q1. It's a 108.5 immediately into the 108 mids, and a good opening lap from Freddie Rasmussen, a solid banker, Dan.
Absolutely, he looked so composed on that lap. We were riding on board with him throughout the entirety of it, and we even got some halo shots, and we could just see how smooth he was with the turning of the steering wheel and his throttle applications as well. Looked like a brilliant lap from him there. I don't believe we've got another dry runner at the moment, but Time and Shooter is currently running on an intermediate lap. And I do want to talk about Time and Shooter. He has come a very long way in his F1 esports journey. I do remember commentating on Timon, I believe on F1 2019 in a very small league, and he still had bags of pace then. He's only gotten better since. He's just currently coming through at turn number 7. And you can even see he's not looking too bad on the intermediates. On a dry circuit, I think anyone who's not at this level would probably have spun the car and completely binned it. So it is brilliant to see how these drivers really have the control and have the feel for the cars. They truly are the best of the best. As it's still looking a little bit quiet out on circuit. Only 3 cars on track at the moment. Freddie Rasmussen, Cedric Tomei, and Time and Shooter. As Freddie Rasmussen just getting out of the way of Timon now. We're not too far away, I'd say, from drivers coming out on a set of the dry compound tyres and then putting in their first real time. So I'm really excited to see that one there.
Absolutely, yeah. Time and Shooter just coming out of the bank corner now, and he's just going to go for a sighter lap on his intermediate tyres. And a couple more coming out right now. Cedric Tomei is out on the circuit. Lewis Welch is out on the circuit. I'm delighted to see Lewis back in the top tier, of course. Lewis was a part of the top tier last season in PSGL. He's in, of course, F2, but of course now he's got moved up to fill in at Aston Martin. So big shoes to fill in Shanika Clay tonight. So looking forward to see how Lewis goes. He's on the gamepad, of course. He's one of the few that still runs on a pad. So when you think about that, to be at this level is something else for Lewis Welch. So we'll hope to see him do well this evening. I know he's got plenty of support in the YouTube chat for Lewis. So obviously plenty will be hoping that he gets on well tonight. Still waiting for the majority of the grid to come out. Of course, it's a short lap around here, so you don't need as much time to complete sighter laps and all of that. So we're still waiting for the heavy hitters to come out and do some laps. Dario Yamulo actually now on his way down the pit lane. Actually, both McLarens are on their way down the pit lane right now. Dario Yamulo and Tomek Karadzic on their way out on a set of dry tyres here. So Tomek did his sighter lap on a set of soft tyres, came immediately into pit lane, didn't set a time. Dario now out for his first laps of Zandvoort. And Tomek now, he's just burning off some excess fuel here with the revving through the first couple of corners. And Tomek, of course, has plenty of pace. He's challenged for pole on multiple occasions. And I think now we'll have to wait and see. He's in a new car now, the McLaren, and we'll have to see if that gives him any sort of extra speed. But Lewis Welch is out on a timed lap and a timed effort on intermediate tyres on a pad. I mean, I think that's impressive enough that he's kept it in a straight line for this long.
Yeah, it's really nice to see Louis Welch, of course, coming back into F1 and also coming up from F2 with me this week, along with Piotr Stahalek. It's nice to see some familiar faces on this grid, as he is on his lap at the moment, of course, on a set of the intermediate tyres. So this is not going to be anyone's true pace, and I think he'll firmly be last if this is his only Q1 time. but I believe Dario Yumulo just about to come through turn number 14 now. So we'll watch on board with the McLaren driver for this one here. He's just coming across the start-finish line right about now, and he's going to begin his timed lap of Zandvoort through the hairpin of turn number 1 and up towards turn 2 and 3. You can see it undulates this circuit, and then a huge banking in through this corner here, and now we'll ride on board with the McLaren car. A little bit of a correction off the exit of the corner, but he's looking in strong stead at the moment. Dario Yumulo now running up towards turn number 7. He's got a clear track in front of him, no dirty air through this section of the track, and as I say that, he's got a car just in front of him. It's Alessio Di Capua getting out of the way very nicely indeed through turns 9 and coming up towards, I believe, turn number 10 and on to one of 2 DRS zones on this circuit. And we'll see him crossing into the 3rd sector now at the chicane here. Very tricky, these cubs. You don't want to put too much of the car on them, as you'd most likely go for a spin. But through turn number 12 now and up towards 13 and indeed 14. He's looked very clean and tidy on this lap. Dario Yumulo going to take the tightest run to the line. And what's his lap going to be? It's going to be a 1:08.9. He's 4/10 adrift of Freddie Rasmussen, but I think that is a respectable enough time.
Yep, decent banker effort from Dario Yumulo there. Now you've got plenty of cars out on the circuit now as well, and not really many opting for intermediate runs at all. They're all going for a set of dries. Alessio Di Capua is out on his timed effort as well. Sebastian Job is on a timed lap as well, but he did have a huge oversteer moment and he's backed out of his time here. So Alessio Di Capua is on his timed effort. Cedric Tome has just begun his timed effort. Joni Sormala, who impressed last week, is also on his first timed effort. Lucas Blakely as well, also on a timed effort as well. So plenty of time's going to start flooding in now, and going to be keeping an eye on all those sectors to see who's lighting up the timing screens. Nobody able to match Rasmussen at the moment in sector number 1. Really good opening sector from Freddie Rasmussen that first time, and if he can make this stick on a single run in Q1, that would be obviously really good for him. But that purple sector now goes to Lucas Blakely, who's gone quicker in the first sector than anybody on the circuit at the moment. Just rounding the middle sector now, flinging it back through the DRS section now at 23.833, almost matched by nearly matched by somebody, but not able to get it now. 23.7 in the middle sector. That is also a purple sector, so this is going to be the benchmark time, the new benchmark time set by Lucas Blakely, the Scotsman. Joni Sormala slots into second, 1:08.57, just 6/100ths behind Freddie Rasmussen. Here comes Lucas Blakely now to set the benchmark for Q1. Comes across the line, 1:08.440. Brilliant effort from Lucas Blakely and sets a new benchmark time. Jake Benham slots to fourth, 1:08.662. And we also have both of the Mercs out on their efforts now. Home hero, Jarno Opmeer, and the machine, Danny Moreno, around the last corner. Here comes Danny to set his time. Where's he going to slot his Merc in his one? He goes to fourth at 1:08.587. And Jarno Opmeer now rounding the last corner at home in the Netherlands, coming around the last corner for Q1. Just needs to make sure he makes it through the top 15, on his way to the line right now. What's this timed effort going to be for Jarno? It's P3, 1:08.532, just behind Freddie Rasmussen. But a great banker effort from Lucas Blakely. We're already in the 1:08.4s.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers coming out for their first times. We're watching, I believe, the Apex Predator of Alvaro Carreton. I'm not too used to all of the names being used, but he's about to cross the line and he's into P6, a respectable time from him, setting a 1:08.637 just ahead of Jake Benham. Will catch a bit of a Tesco car park in the 3rd sector, but it seems to have not phased Fabrizio Donoso. Coming through turn number 14 now, we'll ride on board and hear the beautiful Alpine engine noises to cross the line. And I believe, yes, he's just gone ahead of Alvaro Carreton into P7. A very nice time from him there. Louis Welch putting it into 11th. And I believe Nicholas Matteo has just put in a time, but I don't think that's representative of himself, as here comes Simon Weigang to the line. It's a 1:08.808, and with 6 minutes to go left in this qualifying session, all drivers have put in a lap. The current top 5 at the moment is Lucas Blakely, Fredrik Rasmussen, then Jarno Opmeer and Patrick Saipos, and Joni Tormala just just a little bit 3,000 shy off of P4 at the moment, but of course this is only Q1. They've got all the time. They've got a lot of time to really correct these mistakes in that final qualifying session, Q3 of course. But I think with these times, mid 108s in Q1, that is insane to see.
Yeah, and that seems to me that it's nearly going to end up being the cutoff. The cutoff time at the moment is a 108.8, so it's Tomek Paradzic who's on the cutoff at the moment, just 4/10 up to the Q1 time. Ruben Vallejo needs to get himself a time on the board. A representative time on the board is 2 fourth places as a reserve driver, and he's now moved over to Red Bull in that car. Now here he comes, and he's going to have to get himself a time on the board here, and he goes up to third. A great effort from Ruben Vallejo, up to a 108.525, and yes, do not adjust your TV sets. That is 6 drivers in the same 10th of a second, all on a 108.5 from second down to 7th. So as always in PSGL, it's super close, but the cutoff time a 108.804 for time and shooter, and 4/1000ths of a second is all that separates a driver from making it in or out. Simon Weigang is currently out. Paradzic is currently out at the moment, but he's actually out on a timed effort right now, 23.992 in the first sector, about a 10th off the best time at the moment, but it would still be enough to see him through. Lewis Welch on a very decent first sector, 23.881 versus a 23.833 for Blakely. So Lewis Welch is on a very good time at the moment, but Tomek Paradzic is the man who really needs a time on the board to get himself out of the bottom 5. Up towards the last corner comes Paradzic now in his new McLaren colours at PSGL. Round the last corner he comes. Is it going to be enough to get him into the top 15 here? It's not going to be enough on this time. He's going to have to peel into pit lane and go again. But Lewis Welch is on a very good time. Let's see if he peels into pit lane this time. He's also going to peel into pit lane as well. He was on the improvement but decides to back out of it. So bottom 5, Weigang, Paradzic, Di Capua, Tomei, and Sebastian Joe. Big names in the drop zone at the moment, Dan. But I mean, it's always the same in PSGL. We always have shock exits in Q1.
Absolutely, and if Sebastian Job, who's not done a representative time, if he were to jump ahead of at least 15th position, that would put Time and Shooter in the bottom 5 in his home Grand Prix. So I don't think he'll be feeling a bit all too safe with that 108.804. That is a bit of a mouthful, but a couple drivers on their outlaps for potentially their final run. I think just getting ahead of the crowd so that they are able to push. Really, if they make a mistake or if they somehow invalidate, it's very difficult to invalidate around this circuit, but it is possible. If they do invalidate, they have the time to go again. And one of the drivers on an outlap at the moment is Alessio Di Capua. It doesn't seem like he's pushing through here, so I think we'll have to go on board with Dario Yamulo. He's just about 100th down on his previous best lap at the moment. We'll see him through the sector split. He's 1,000th off of his previous best. This could be danger for Dario Yamulo if drivers do improve on their times. If he can find something through the final sector here, then I think he'd be very pleased with that. He only needs 1,000 to at least improve and a couple hundreds to make up some positions. But to the line, the McLaren driver Dario Yamulo does find almost a 10th of a second. That jumps him up to 11th position, just behind Jake Benham at the moment, who I also think is on a timed run at the moment.
Yeah, Jake Benham is also on a timed run. He's in sector number 2. The surprise front row start, the surprise podium last season, so close to a pole in Spa, of course, is on a time lap right now. Look, he's down on his personal best in the sector, but he's gone purple in the middle sector, so big push from Jake Benham in that middle sector. A little bit of traffic coming up in front of a Ferrari just in front of him as he comes to the last corner. That will not be affecting him too much now towards the line. Just enough for Jake Benham to see if he can get through into Q2. It should be enough anyways, but he needs to be safe. He comes across the line. He goes just up to 9th. So a purple middle sector, no improvement in sector 1 and sector 3. So Jake, obviously plenty of pace in that kind of mid-speed section in the middle sector, but he now holds the fastest middle sector of anybody by just 3/1000ths of a second, as even more times beginning to flood in now in the last minute of Q1. So it's all about being out of the drop zone. in this part of qualifying. Very, very crucial. Who's going to make it in? Who's going to be out in this session? Lucas Blakely's retired. Vallejo's retired. Sipos is retired. Moreno's retired. They all believe they are safe, and they should be safe anyways. And a couple of drivers are not out on the not out on the circuit. Rasmussen, Otmir, Tormala, Timon Shooter makes it into P8, so he now makes it out of the drop zone, and that puts Lewis Welch in trouble now. He's in P15 on the cusp. Nicholas Mateo is currently out. Weigang is currently out. He's on a run for the line. Where does Weigang go? He goes to P5. He's safe into Q2. Good effort from him there. And now that puts Cedric Tomei in danger.
Yep, Sebastian Job just put in a time as well. He goes up into second position. Tomek Paracic about to come to the line, and he's going to pull into the pit lane, confirming his exit in Q1. Louis Welch is trying to find some time, and he is about just under a tenth up on his previous best. He only needs a slight amount of time to get out of Q1 here. We'll see what he can do through the second sector split. He's lost time on his previous best. He's still up, though, by about half a tenth of a second. This will not be enough if he does find the improvement here. Cedric Tomei unfortunately cannot get outside of the bottom 5. What about Louis Welch coming up towards the line? Can he find an improvement here? Is he going to make this time stick? Jake Benham out of Q1, and Louis Welch just about finds the time as more drivers on their runs. I don't think Piotr Stahalek is on a lap, and neither is Alessio Di Capua, or at least he's down on his previous best, so I think that is going to be the confirmed bottom 5 for this session as more drivers complete their final Q1 runs. In this session, we lose Alessio Di Capua, front row starter from last week, Jake Benham, debutant in F1, Piotr Stahalek, Cedric Tomei, and then Tomek Paracic, who backed out on his lap in the final sector.
Yeah, shock exit there for Tomek Paracic. I'm just having a look at the task system. He did invalidate his run, and that is the reason he did not make it into Q2. But both Haas's exiting in Q1, that is a surprise. And Alessio Di Capua especially missing out on making it into Q2. Fabrizio Donoso just scraping in by just over 100th of a second in the end. But you can see the cutoff time of 108.5, and I cannot believe what I'm looking at, Dan. Second down to 15th, 108.5.
Unbelievable how close this grid is, and the entire field spread for Q1. This isn't even counting this is counting Lucas Blakely, who's about almost a tenth clear of anyone else at the moment. It's just under 0.4 of a second. I don't understand how these drivers can find such small margins. I was talking about this yesterday in F2. The times look really close there, and I kind of feared for what F1 would be like, and I think my fears have come true. Here is your classification for qualifying 1. It is Lucas Blakely who has gone top, with Sebastian Job in second position. Third for Freddie Rasmussen, Ruben Vallejo in fourth. Then downwards we've got Jarno Otmir, Nicholas Mateo, Simon Weigang, Alvaro Caraton, Patrick Sipos, Yoni Tormala just getting into the top 10. Then your rest of your grid is Dario Yumulo, Danny Moreno, Louis Welch, Timon Shooter, and Fabrizio Donoso just about safe in the end. And here are your 5 exits in qualifying. Alessio Di Capua, who only missed out by about 200ths of a second, Jake Benham, Piotr Stahalek, Cedric Tomei, and then Tomek Paracic. But that brings us to an end of qualifying 1. We now get ready for Q2 here, and I think we can expect some medium runs possibly in this session here.
I think we can, yeah. We've seen some drivers practicing it to see if they can get it in on the medium runs, but of course, making it in on the mediums also depends on how many others are also on the medium compound tyre as well, so we'll have to wait and see. And of course, we do have the kind of spanner in the works that we have the added fun of rain in the later half of the race, but they still need to decide what they're going to start on. Very impressive run, I must say, from Sebastian Job up in P2 in Q1. Let's see if he can carry that pace off. Lewis Welch, though, a hat tip to Lewis. He made it into Q2 in a grid this stacked. That is a very, very good effort from Lewis right there. But yeah, absolutely. I think that is the closest we've had the field. Second down to 15th within the same tenth of a second. I believe it was 0.08 was the gap between second down to P15. So that is unbelievable. The only driver in the 108.4s was Lucas Blakely that time. So Lucas has about 7/100ths to a tenth advantage in Q1, but now let's see what's going to be like in Q2. could see times a little bit slower than that, but we'll have to wait and see. Many drivers did make it into Q2 on a single run on the tyres. Freddie Rasmussen, he did a lap in the first couple of minutes and then stayed in the garage for the rest of it, and he was safe into the next session very, very easily by Freddie Rasmussen. So he's going to have that extra set to work with, but both Alpha Tauris making it through. Timon Shooter, he does make it through to Q2, and Simon Weigang as well, both the Alfa Romeos also making it into this session. Both Red Bulls, both Mercedes, both Alpines, and the sole Ferrari of Nicholas Matteo. We haven't mentioned too much about, but Nicholas Matteo is there in the Ferrari, and then both the Aston Martins of Lucas Blakely and Lewis Welch also making it through, with the sole McLaren of Dario Yumulo also making it through. But now the first laps of Q2 now beginning. Don't expect the pace to be set in the first few laps. Well, we'll have to wait and see in that course, because Freddie Rasmussen set the benchmark straight away, and he's one of the first cars out on the circuit already, so he's eager to get underway here. But the first driver who's actually begun his lap is, I believe, Patrick Sipos, who's out. The newest recruit at Alpine. Remember, back to the social races, everybody at home, he took pole position in the very first race of PSGL on F1 2021. So Patrick Sipos has plenty of pace. Haven't quite seen it in the leads just yet, but this is the first time we've seen him donning the Alpine colours in this one, and he's going to look to be a thorn in the side for some of these guys. He's got serious pace down, and he showed it in the first race on the socials.
Oh, absolutely, this guy has got bags of potential. I've enjoyed watching him every time I tune in to a PSGL F1 stream. He had a little bit of traffic in both Alfa Romeos, if I'm not mistaken. I think Simon Weigang would have slightly impeded him, so I think Patrick Sipos, this won't be his best time of the session, but we'll see him coming up towards the line. I believe Danny Moreno is the next car on a lap behind him, so we'll see Patrick Sipos. What's his opening time going to be? It's going to be a 1:08.996, and that would have only got him about 20 position in Q1, because I think Danny Moreno might have actually invalidated his previous best. So we'll find someone who is potentially further up on a lap. Let's ride on board with Fabrizio Donoso. I believe there are some drivers in front of him, but he is on a pretty fast time at the moment, as Joni Tormala does a lap. I think he must have made a mistake on that one, a 1:11.8. He'll look to go again on that possibly different set of the softs. Louis Welch going into second position, but here comes Fabrizio Donoso, dipping his wheels into the grass ever so slightly, coming up towards the line. What's his time going to be? Oh, I think it was actually invalidated in the end. I haven't got the track map up, so I'm not too sure when a driver does invalidate their lap, but he looked pretty strong on his one, so I think, if anything, it gives him a little bit of a morale boost that he knows he's got the pace.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a couple of Freddie Rasmussen also invalidated as well. Thankfully, who's invalidated the runs. We're looking through. Timon Shooter has just invalidated his time. Rasmussen's invalidated the second time. Danny Moreno is about to come into pit lane right now. We also have an Alfa Romeo just about to come across the line, and just a moment's time. Timon Shooter just about to come across the line now after invalidating his run, of course. And now we have a couple more to just set ties. Keeping an eye on the sectors right now. Purple middle sector for Alvaro Caraton, who's looking very good in the middle sector. Alvaro, let's see what he can do at Zandvoort. He was the man who challenged Otmir for the win last season, and he carries good form into this race. Here comes Caraton down towards the start-finish line. Where does this put him in Q2? It puts him to the top on a 108.692, but of course, remember, that would have put him out of the running in Q1 had that been the cut-off time. But of course, we've yet to see the true pace of these guys just yet. Dario Yumulo on his way to the line right now in the McLaren. Let's see, he's invalidated his run as well. So nobody out on a timed lap by the looks of it. Everybody back in pit lane, but Alvaro Caraton is the man who sets the initial pace. But I think because we see so many of these guys in pit lane, Dan, everyone is just trying to get through on a single run.
Yep, so it's a little bit quiet out on circuit at the moment. Only 3 cars running at this point in time, and I don't believe any of them are on a timed lap. And if Timon Shooter is on a lap, I don't think this would be enough to get him into Q3. and indeed he does back out. He pulls into the pit lane here, so it's a bit of a waiting game at the moment. I see a lot of drivers fitting on a set of the medium tyres, so they're going to be looking to start this race on the yellow walled tyres. Of course, not got as much grip as the soft, but they do have the longevity, and one of those drivers on a set of the mediums is the driver that topped Q1. It is, of course, Lucas Blakely. He's just coming through the first sector now, and I've been really impressed with his development on this game. On F1 2020, I didn't see too much of Lucas Blakely. Granted, I didn't pay too much attention to the esports scene, but on this game, he has come out swinging, and he's looked so strong, especially in PSGL. And of course, he picked up that podium in Belgium. Just weaving about a little bit on the back straightaway to get a little bit more heat into the tyres. Of course, it's more difficult to put heat into the mediums rather than a set of the softs. It's quite a bit easier actually on that compound. A little bit more weaving from him here, and we'll see him on his timed lap as he rounds turn number 14 to begin this one here in the Aston Martin car. One of my favourite liveries on this grid. We'll see him approaching the hairpin of turn number 1, taking a wide line in, then cutting across to kiss the apex on exit, riding over the curbs here and in towards turn 2 and turn 3. Right on board to just get a feel of how banked this corner is. It really comes at you, and then it tightens up on the inside line. A bit of a correction off the exit, and now we're right on board with him here through turns 5, 6, and indeed 7. Nicholas Matteo doing a good job to get out of the way of the flying Scotsman. I'm going to take the Jarno line, and I'm going to apply it to the Scotsman as here he comes through turn 8. And speaking of Jarno, he's just in the way at the moment. I think they're going to do a great job of getting out of the way of Lucas Blakely and running onto the DRS straight away, coming into the grandstands here, where the Orange Army light up the field as through the third sector now. I think he might have backed off on this lap, but he's not looking as quick as I'd have thought he'd be. I think he is still pushing. I'm not too sure at the moment, but we'll see him coming up towards the line. Lucas Blakely, what can he do? Is this enough to go into the next session? Well, of course, we don't know yet, but a 1:08.784 on a set of the medium tyres, and we'll just get the gap to Alvaro Carreton, less than a tenth off of a soft runner. That's incredible from Lucas there.
Yeah, it's a great lap from Lucas. We're having a look at the other times right now. Ruben Vallejo, he's out on a set of soft compound tyres. Patrick Sipos improves on his run to a 1:08.830. But Ruben Vallejo is the man setting the times at the moment. Purple in the first sector. Oh! He's had a massive off in the last corner. Huge for Ruben Vallejo. He's lucky that there's still bits of bodywork attached to that car. The front wing is missing, but very, very lucky to get away with that as he comes back into pit lane. Just got a huge snap of oversteer on the way to the last corner, pinged him straight into the wall, and he is very, very lucky to get back to pit lane, Dan.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if he's got any damage aside from that front wing, because it looked like he went for a mighty spin and hit the wall at multiple angles. He could have some side pod damage or potentially rear wing, and of course that can't get fixed. So if that is the case, it could really be detrimental to his qualifying session. Here comes Jan Watmir up to the line as what is he going to do on the set of the medium tyres? Is he going to best Freddie Rasmussen? He's going to best Alvaro Carreton on a 1:08.639 on a set of the medium tyres. Incredible stuff from Jarno there, the Mercedes driver, and he's not the F1 esports champion for no reason.
Oh, superb from Jarno Watmir, 1:08.639 on the medium compound tyre. That is one hell of a time from Jarno Watmir, as now we're seeing, of course, on the timing tower, everybody is on the medium compound tyre, so that takes away the strategy advantage, really. A couple more drivers coming to the line. Timon Shooter pops into P9, 1:09.026, and only one driver has attempted to set a time on the softs. That's Ruben Vallejo, who of course spun and crashed in the last corner. And well, this is interesting now, because now everybody's on the same strategy. It looks like nobody's on a push lap really either. They're all kind of gearing up for these last few moments of Q2. You've got to be in the top 10 to get through. Of course, Sebastian Job, Danny Moreno, Dario Yamula, Ruben Vallejo, all currently out of qualifying, as is Joni Tormala. And now we have, again, a small little lull in qualifying while drivers make their way back to the pit lane or begin their kind of run up to the line to begin another lap. Simon Weigang is out at the moment. He's just trying to, well, either he's going to head back to pit lane or he's going to go for another push lap. I'm not sure he has enough ERS to go for another lap anyways, but this is turning into a little interesting enough scenario. And well, I'm having a look now. Ruben Vallejo, he's not confident he's going to make it through on the medium compound tire. He switched to a set of soft compounds.
Yep, and I think he'd be quite thankful that he's actually on the circuit at the moment. He's on an out lap at the moment, as is Dario Yamulo. Both these drivers sharing pretty similar bits of track at the moment, both of them in the first and second sector. Danny Moreno also out on a out lap, but Ruben Vallejo, I don't think he's just feeling any confidence in the set of the medium, so he's going to secure his place into Q3 on the softs. And actually a couple drivers fitting on the soft tyres in the pit lane, but I can assure you all of those times, aside from Alvaro Carreton, they are on the medium tyre. So if they are going to be doing laps on a set of the softs, they might be waiting until the last moment, and then they'll see if they're safe or not. Then they are going to come out and set a blistering lap time indeed, as Ruben Vallejo preps for this lap, going very slowly here. He's about to come through turn 13. I don't think he's going to have great memories of this corner. They'll take it nicely to begin this lap, running it out wide of turn number 14 to begin a flyer. The Spaniard in the Red Bull car coming up towards turn number 1. We'll see what he can do, and he beautifully takes that corner, running it out wide onto the curbs and through the undulation of turns 2 and 3 as the Red Bull flies. At the moment, we'll ride on board through 5, 6 and 7 very nice and smooth, as I am witnessing from him. Very lovely to see as he takes very tight lines through here on this twisty and narrow circuit. So difficult to put in the perfect lap, but the consistency of these F1 esports drivers, or F1 esports caliber runners, they really do know how to find every bit of time on this lap. Is coming through on towards the DRS straight, running it wide as possible, trying to maximize the top speed he's got. We'll see what he does through the second sector split, and it's 47.5. So he's looking very strong on this lap, and I'd say if he does complete on this set of the softs, then he is going to go into Q2 pretty comfortably, as I think he's going to take a little bit more caution through turn 13 and 14, but he's managed to keep it tidy this time by. Is Ruben Vallejo coming up towards the line? What's he going to do? He's going to go top of the session, a 108.463, and I don't think, unless all these drivers on these soft compound tyres are really going to put in a lap, I think that could be the fastest time in Q2.
It very much could be, yeah. You can see plenty of people emerging back out on soft compound tires right now, and Jarno Watmere is staying in pit lane, so he reckons he's safe. So if everybody else behind him improve, it could be on the limit here as everybody else decides to come out to go for a lap here on the soft compound tire. Ruben Vallejo with a 108.463, that would have seen him up at the top end in Q1. Alvaro Carreton's about to finish his timed run. Where does Alvaro go? 108.406. He goes to the top of Q2 with that run, so this could be anxious moments in the Mercedes garage right now. Joni Tormal at P4 on the mediums as well. Let's see if Joni does enough to get himself into this next bit of qualifying, but now we wait and see who's on a lap. Patrick Sipos and Fabrizio Donoso, they're both out on timed efforts right now. Fabrizio Donoso 23.856 in the first sector, that is purple, and he is going very quickly in that Alpine. Let's see as he rides through the middle sector, swimming under the stadium section right now. His teammate just in front of him as well, Patrick Sipos. They're matching each other in the first couple of sectors. Patrick Sipos actually nipping that purple first sector off him. So the Alpines now landing a heavy blow down here down the straight. Here comes Sipos to the top, 108.2 from Sipos, and Donoso goes to a 108.4 behind Alvaro Carreton. What a opening time from Patrick Sipos right there. That puts Lewis Welch on the bubble in P10. Lucas Blakely's now in P9, and let's see if he can land a time here to challenge the top guys here. Checker flag comes out on Q2. Who's going to make it in on the medium compounds here? Danny Moreno has only just nipped into P10 on the set of the medium compound tires. He should be safe to make it through to the next part of qualifying. Jarno Watmere is looking good to make it through as well in this session as well. Nicholas Mateo's not on a timed lap. Lucas Blakely's on a timed lap though. He's looking to try and get himself a little bit further up here to make sure he's going to be safe through to the next session. Round towards the last corner, a little bit of traffic in Alvaro Carreton, but no real issues there. Here comes Lucas Blakely, who challenged for pole at Spa last time. Here he comes round the banking turn to secure himself into Q3. He's on the bubble now, P10. He's got to make it work here across the line. He gets to P2 108.2, 357, sorry, but that puts Danny Moreno into P11. I'm sure he's not going to be too dissatisfied with that, but he's not going to take any further part in this session. Simon Weigang, he's about to finish a lap as well. Does he get himself out of Q2 into Q3? He does. A P6 for Simon Weigang. He makes it in to the next session, and that also knocks Freddie Rasmussen out of Q2 as well. Wow, what a qualifying session right there. But great job by Jarno Watmere and especially Joni Tormala. They've made it into Q3 on a set of mediums.
Yeah, Joni Tormala was just on the bubble. 200 more from Freddie Rasmussen's lap of 108.770. That would have seen Joni Tormala crashing out of qualifying. But the 5 drivers that we are seeing eliminated in this session are Freddie Rasmussen, Danny Moreno, Louis Welch making his return to F1, Dario Yamulo, and then Sebastian Job as topping Q2. It's a man that took pole in the British social race, Patrick Cypos, just getting his car serviced here. I think he'd be very pleased with how his session went. He set a 108.251. I don't know how these drivers have the capability to remain focused throughout the entire laps, but somehow they manage it, and it is truly a joy to see such brilliant times and such brilliant drivers all competing on one circuit, as he is the last one to pull into the pit lane and get his car in the garage as the tyre blankets go on to that Alpine. Here is your list of of qualifying 2. Apparently it's Jarno in the Alpine suit, but of course that is Patrick Cypos, just using his avatar that he has got in the game. He sets the fastest time in Q2. Lucas Blakely 10th off in 2nd, 3rd for Alvaro Carreton, Fabrizio Donoso in 4th, 5th for Rumvalejo, 6th for Simon Weigang, and Timon Shooter in 7th. It's great to see both Alfa Romeos in Q3. Jarno Watmere is next up, then Nicholas Matteo, and just getting in by a thin whisker is Joni Tormala, crucially on a set of the medium tyres. Him and Jarno, if they can qualify high up the grid, they're going to be in an immense position coming into the race.
They will indeed, but you've also got to watch Freddie Rasmussen and Danny Moreno, P11, P12, alternate strategy for both of those guys as well. So they're not going to be too displeased with P11 and P12, even though it's quite tricky to overtake here. It's still an advantage to at least have the free choice of tyre starting P11 and P12. So Freddie Rasmussen, of course, didn't decide to improve on that previous run. He was about 2 to 3 tenths quicker in Q1, but he decided not to go for another run. But now it's the shootout for pole here in Zandvoort. Who is going to get it? It's going to be very, very close. Patrick Cypos with the fastest time of anybody, a 108.251, and a superb time from the young Hungarian to get himself up to the top end. We do have Q3 coming up in just a few moments' time, and we will get underway for this shootout for pole position at Zandvoort. We've already seen a 108.2. Can anybody go quicker than a 108.2? A little bit overcast here at Zandvoort, but we don't have any rain forecast for Q3, but we'd certainly do for the race. So very, very interesting pole shootout coming up in just a few seconds' time. Car's about to emerge onto the circuit, and to be honest, Dan, I don't know who to tip at this point.
I'm on the edge as well. I'm thinking that I'm going to make an early prediction into Q3. I think Lucas Blakely is going to emerge as the pole sitter. He's looked really strong in these qualifying sessions so far. And given my my limited experience of commentating over such a high-level grid, he's looked the best so far. So he's just coming out for his outlap. But we are following along with Joni Tormala on his outlap. One of the 2 drivers that managed to get into the top 10 on a set of the medium compound of tyres. And I think if there is rain forecast for about halfway through the race, being on this set of the mediums that have the longevity to go even past the halfway point, it's going to be such an advantage to him.
It really is, and I think Yanni has really impressed us over the past few races. Hasn't had the qualifying really to show what he's made of, and well, now he's got a chance to try and show us what he's able to do in that Alpha Tauri, and really impressive. He drove from last up to P6 in round 1. He drove from 15th up to 9th in race number 2 and fended off the attacks of everybody on the final lap down the Kemmel straight with that wonderful shot as they came 4 abreast. He was the one who made it 4 wide, actually, Joni Tormola, so very brave stuff from the Finn. But now he's into Q3, and he's going to show us if he can maybe secure himself a very impressive pole. We'll have to wait and see what he's going to be able to do as the first sectors now begin to pop up on screen. 23.868 for Joni Tormola on his first ever, 23.9 for Fabrizio Donoso. So Joni Tormola currently holding that fastest first sector, but it's so important to get a good lap in the early part of the laps, because even if it's not at least a banker, then you also have a delta on just in your peripheral vision, so you can see whether you're green or whether you're red on your delta going into the last few sectors. There's always a small thing to have, but the drivers have talked about it, that it is important for them to see how they're getting on. 23.6 for Joni Tormola, 23.7 for Fabrizio Donoso in the middle sector. So Joni Tormola is the fastest man on the circuit right now. Here comes Joni Tormola around the last corner. What's his first opening time in Q3 going to be? It's going to be a 108.373, a very good opening lap from Joni Tormola, and that is the benchmark. Donoso 108.498. Can anybody best that time? It's Lucas Blakely, a 108.558 as his opening effort. Alvaro Caraton is just about to cross the start finish with his effort now. Alvaro Caraton 108.582. And Jarno Watmer has just begun his lap as well. But that's a great banker effort from Joni Tormola, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. He's clear of the rest of the grid at the moment by over a 1/10 of a second. But if anyone's got anything to say about it, it's going to be this man that we are watching at the moment. Jarno Opmeer, the championship leader at the moment, and of course the defending champion coming into this season. Doing a brilliant job of his title retention so far. We're seeing him through the second sector at the moment, as the Red Bull car of Room Vallejo gets out of the way very nicely indeed. We'll see him through Sector 2 now and up towards the third sector, the stadium section, where I think the Orange Army is going to be cheering him on. And I see a lot of the live chat as well. Love him! And oh dear, going for a spin, catching the curve too much. And a rare mistake we see coming out from Jarno Opmeer there. That time is completely shot. And he's going to have to limp back to the pit lane almost sheepishly, but he does have more time, especially at a short circuit like this one. 7 minutes is plenty time for him to come back into the pits, fit another set of tyres, or potentially the same, and then go out again. So it's not all lost for Jarno. You just got to brush that one off.
Yeah, rare mistake from Jarno Watmer, but he has got time, as he said. Here comes Patrick Sipos. Where does he go in this session? He goes to second, 108.475. Patrick Sipos, but we know he's got more in the back, in the tank to fight with than that. But Jarno Watmer just clouting what we like to call the death curve on the way into the stadium section, and that will insta-spin you around there. So Jarno Watmer, he does limp it across the line to at least get a time on the board to have a delta to work with. His first 2 sectors were good. Having a look, well, his first sector was about just 1/100th of a second slower than Joni Tormola. 23.728 in the middle was also slower than Joni Tormola, but it would have been enough to get maybe slot him to P2 at the very least. So still plenty of time for Jarno Watmer to come in and get out again for a time different. Purple first sector. Well, Jarno's pushing on right now. He's got the purple first sector as Jarno Watmer, so he's immediately on a return to try and recover the, I suppose, lost track time that he had right there up towards the middle sector right now. I would imagine he's going to peel into pit lane at the end of this lap anyway, but he's going to push on and see what he can do. 23.735 in the middle sector, not quite on the pace of Joni Tormola, but he has got the pace in the first sector. So here comes Jarno Watmer. Is he going to get this time on the board, or is he going to peel into pit lane straight away? He's running out of ERS all the way to the line. He's going to get the time on the board. Here comes Jarno Watmer now. He goes to fourth, a 108.503. So he's got a time on the board. He's got a delta to work with, but it's still, and I did mention it, Dan, it's slight advantage Joni Tormola.
Yeah, Joni Tormala, and compared to Jarno Watmer on their opening laps, we'll just get the gap to the leader. Jarno's just about a tenth and a quarter, just above that actually, off of Joni Tormala, who's looking to be the quicker of the pair. Of course, those two starting on a set of the medium compound of tyres, as a time and shooter in the Alfa Romeo just about to cross the line here. I think he was invalid on his lap. Actually, no, he wasn't. He just jumped his teammate of Simon Weigang, a 108.637. I think he'll want to find an improvement on that lap. As Rune Vallejo, I don't think he's pushing on this one. I think he'll peel off into the pit lane, as indeed he does, as someone who is on a lap, his second time running this session. Joni Tormala currently on provisional pole at the moment. He's found an improvement through the first sector. The AlphaTauri car rises through the ranks in PSGL, and he's certainly doing that at the Dutch Grand Prix as the Finn comes through. A little bit of oversteer correction and even more correction onto the curb, as I think that might be his time over, and he's lost a lot of time on that anyway, so I don't think he'll be too pleased with how that lap has turned out, and he'll back off. He'll either come into the pit lane or go again. We'll see what Joni Tormala wants to do. Maybe he's found some pace through his yellow flags just ahead in sector 3. I think it's a car getting out of the way. Joni Tormala does indeed come to the pit lane. Where'd that one come from? Lucas Blakely. We didn't even see that from him there. Well, at least I didn't. As a 108.274. What a time from Lucas Blakely. And given that he's got 4 minutes left to go in the session, I think he can go even quicker.
Yeah, I was watching that lap the whole way down. It was wonderful to watch on board with Lucas Blakely. Purple in every single sector throughout that lap. So wonderful time. Alvaro Carreton is on a very good lap as well. This might be enough to slot him in between Tormala and Blakely if he gets this last sector right. Here comes Carreton round the last corner. DRS open on the Williams. He heads for the line now. Where does Carreton go? He goes to third, a 3.75, and just 2/1000ths of a second slower than Joni Tormala, but Lucas Blakely once again with the advantage of nearly exactly a tenth of a second around Zandvoort. That is quite a big amount of time. So Lucas Blakely now has the advantage going into this last part of qualifying. And well, if this is the grid we had, then I would not be well, I'd be very excited. Jarno Watmer on his way back out onto the track right now. New set of softs bolted onto the car. Fabrizio Donoso is following him out as well. But we've got a really interesting last few minutes of qualifying right now. Jarno Watmer down in P6, but we know he's going to find a huge amount of time in this final run.
Absolutely, of course, he has got the pace, and he did that lap also on a slightly used set of tyres. So if he's on a fresh compound of soft, then he's going to be on an absolute flyer. But we do have one driver who's just about to begin his lap time. Rune Vallejo yet to put a lap in on the board. We'll catch Jarno Watmer when he's about halfway through his lap after Ruben is finished with his here. Coming in towards turn number 1, the Red Bull car braking just about at the 50-meter board and running through into the first sector, riding over the curbs as you do to get the fastest lines in this game. I wouldn't say too accurate to real life, but certainly it works in the game, so why not use it? As coming through the S's section here, the rising and tumbling corners, and onto the downhill right-hander of turn number 7, running right over the curbs, as Rune Vallejo is looking pretty decent on this lap so far, as through the second sector here, coming up towards the DRS straight. He has a bit of a slide, I thought, but he's managed to correct it, and he's managed to actually probably find time as Nicolas Mateo gets out of the way very nicely there. And it's a 47.5 through the second sector for Rune Vallejo, the only driver yet to put in a time at the moment. He's just about to come through turn number 13 and then towards turn 14, as we'll see him through the final flat out bit of the track. Yellow flags in sector 3, do not worry about them. It's just driver preparing for their run. Rune Vallejo to the line. It's going to be second position for him. Very nice lap indeed. He was a little bit shy of Lucas Blakely's pole time, but he's just about pit Joni Tormala by 1/100th of a second.
Very good time for Rune Vallejo, especially showing what he's made of in this qualifying now. It's the kind of last-ditch effort for Pole right now as we look at the sector times throughout this field right now. We have an invalidation for Tywin Shooter. He has to go again. Alvaro Caratonzin is retired, of course, as well. A very good time on the board coming for Fabrizio Donoso. He's gone best of anybody in the middle sector, but that's taken away by Joni Tormola. This is going to be a very close end to qualifying. Here comes Donoso round the last corner, heading for the line now in the Alpine. Where does he go with this effort? He goes up to second, a very good time. What about Joni Tormola? He goes up to second, just a few thousandths in it. Back to Blakely, super close here. Patrick Sipos next up to cross the start-finish line. Where does the young Hungarian go? Can he get himself up the order? He can't, he's invalidated at the time. But Jarno Watmir, can he displace anybody in front of him now? Comes to the line, it's not going to be enough. He's going to have to go again, but it looks like he's not done enough to get here. He's going to have to go for a second push lap here, Jarno Watmir. So this is not over just yet here at Zandvoort. Some more times about to come your way. Jarno Watmir, a very crucial time about to come up right now. Having a look at the sectors. He, of course, backed out on that lap to charge up the ERS a little bit. Wasn't happy with the first sector, but checker flag's going to come out on qualifying in just a few moments' time. And there's only a few people that can improve or challenge Lucas Blakely to take pole here. 23.850 in the first sector, half a tenth down. He's backed out. Jarno is not happy, and he's going to be starting P7 in this race for Jarno Opmeer. Unbelievable scenes at the Dutch Grand Prix. It looks like Lucas Blakely is going to take pole at the Dutch Grand Prix. We've a few more drivers still on improvements here. Nicolas Mateo, Ruben Vallejo's going again for another lap here, and Lucas Blakely's going even quicker in the first sector. Lucas Blakely's on an absolute flyer in his Aston Martin machine. He's gone purple and purple. This is going to be a stellar effort from the Scotsman to put a nail in the coffin here at Zandvoort. Round the last corner comes Lucas Blakely. He's going to go even faster here at Zandvoort to get himself a comprehensive pole position. Here he comes. What is going to be? It's a 108.234 for Lucas Blakely, and that secures himself a brilliant pole position at the Dutch Grand Prix. But I don't want to speak too soon because Ruben Vallejo's just gone purple in the middle sector. What about the Red Bull? Where does he go? He goes to the pole. Ruben Vallejo out of nowhere at 108.231 steals pole at the death, and Lucas Blakely demoted to second. Ruben Vallejo, the young star from Spain, is on pole for the Dutch Grand Prix. Absolutely stellar. Well done. 3/1000. He steals it, and a first pole position for Ruben Vallejo, Dan. Superb.
Right at the death of it, 0.003 of a second between Ruben Vallejo and Lucas Blakely. He dots his I's and he crosses his T's to start on pole in a track that is notoriously difficult to overtake on. Ruben Vallejo really putting himself in strong stead coming into this Grand Prix. What a qualifying session we have just seen there. The gaps are less than a blink of an eye throughout pretty much the entire field. Here is your comprehensive list of qualifying. Ruben Vallejo takes a pole position, starting on the front row. Alongside him is Lucas Blakely, missing out by 0.003 of a second. Then on the second row of the grid, it's Joni Tormola, starting on a medium set of tyres. He has got the pure advantage coming into this race. Fabrizio Donoso in fourth position. The top four all separated by less than a tenth. Alvaro Caraton in fifth, and sixth for Patrick Sipos as championship leader Jarno Opmeer backs out on his lap right at the end of it. He goes into seventh, then Simon Weigang eighth, ninth for Tywin Shooter, and rounding out the grid is Nicolas Mateo. But how about that for a qualifying order? And how about this putting us in for a race here? I cannot wait.
Yeah, how about that? Well, that is a massive statement for Ruben Vallejo. He's one of the few drivers on this grid who is not part of F1 Esports, and he's just put it on pole in one of the most stacked grid in league racing. If that doesn't get some teams to stand up and take notice of this young man, then obviously now what does he need to do? Superb. But as you mentioned, Dan, Joni Tormola is third and starts on medium compound tyres. He's going to be at a massive advantage in this race, but you cannot discount that car of Jarno Opmeer. He starts P7 in this race, his lowest grid start since last season, of course. And, well, this is going to be a very, very interesting race. Lucas Blakely's on the front row as well, and just behind him, Joni Tormola, and then further down, We're going to run through the grid in just a few moments' time. But this is just going to be superb. I'm delighted for Ruben Vallejo, of course. That was a stellar lap to pull it out at the very, very last moment. A superb middle sector is what done it for him. But the race coming up in just a few moments' time. Hello to the 3,000 of you that are watching us at home. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday nights here at PSGL. You're about to watch a superb race about to come up. There's rain coming in this race. And let us know who you think is going to win in the chat. Of course, we're keeping an eye throughout this race. It's Vallejo and Blakely front row. Tormola, Donoso, and Caraton and Sipos. Then, of course, it's Otmir, Weigang, Schutter, and Matteo. But, of course, we've also got the sort of spanners there in a P11, P12, Dan. Rasmussen and Moreno, P11 and P12, also on medium tyres as well. They'll come into play a bit later on, but, well, could we see an upset at the Dutch Grand Prix?
We certainly can. Let's have a quick look at the grid at the moment, and they'll be starting, of course, the top 10. They're all starting on the tyres that they set their Q2 lap time with. Joni Tormola and Jarno Otmir are the ones to watch in that grid. And for the rest of the grid, aside from Piotr Stachelek, who's opted for a set of the soft compound of tyres here, everyone is on a set of the mediums. But I want everyone in the live chat, as we're getting ready for this race, I want you to predict your top three, your winner, your second place, and then your third runner. I want to see it all in the live chat. As I'd like to mention one thing, I don't think I can really replicate the classic George saying of pedal to the metal, go, 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 go. So I think you might be a bit deprived of that tonight, but I will take the race starters. They're just coming through the final sector now. Ruben Vallejo is going to lead us off here, as we're seeing a lot of predictions for Lucas Blakely to win this race, Otmir to win, Lucas, Jarno, Danny, as I'm seeing Lucas, Jarno, I don't know. Well, I honestly kind of agree with you. I don't know how this grid is going to shape out, but it is going to be an absolute corker of a Grand Prix, as they're all pulling into their grid slots now. We'll wait for I believe Jake Benham is the last driver on circuit at the moment. He's starting in 17th. Of course, a podium in the previous race. We'll wonder where he turns out, as just coming into his grid box now, as it all falls silent on the grid. But we will get underway very shortly, as here we are, the lights are coming on. It is 5 red lights in Zandvoort, and we are underway here in PSGL for round number 4 of the championship. Immediately, Ruben Vallejo trying to block off Lucas Blakely, who gets a brilliant start coming in towards turn number 1. They're going to run wheel to wheel through this part of the track, and I think Lucas Blakely is going to pull out just ahead, coming into into the second corner of the circuit. What a start from the Scotsman, as yellow flags further back behind. That might be Alessio De Capua around there, as Fabrizio Donoso now trying to look to challenge the back of Ruben Vallejo, who's lost the lead from starting on pole, as more battles further back behind. They're almost 3 abreast coming through. I think Danny Runner's having connection issues as they're running wheel to wheel. Alvaro Caraton and Freddie Rasmussen through the second sector here. What a start we have just witnessed there, as Ruben Vallejo loses the lead to Lucas Blakely. Fabrizio Donoso following in third.
Oh, what a start from Lucas Blakely. But I'm loving this fight between Rasmussen and Moreno. Down, they're fighting it out so hard, side by side, for the whole lap here. Zandvoort, Rasmussen takes the outside, switches back to the inside. Moreno's trying to keep it in, but Rasmussen shuts the door and keeps it in front as they head across to his finish. Lap number 1, Lucas Blakely, stellar start. Vallejo absolutely gave it everything to cover it off on the inside, but he leads after lap 1. It's Vallejo, Donoso, then Joni Tormola, as the timing tower goes a bit crazy, as it does always. It will sort itself out after we come to the next split in this next part of the race, but this is crazy stuff. They're only 3 abreast further down the order there as they fight it out for position in this race. Jarno Otmir up behind Patrick Sipos now. Caratal had a bit of a sideways moment on lap number 1. That was the yellow flag that we saw. He ended up facing nearly the wrong way in turn number 2 and had to get back going again. So Alvaro Caratal, unfortunately, now dropping down to P9 just behind Nicholas Matteo. Then Otmir is following Sipos here in the middle sector. Joni Tormola still running P4. Donoso, Vallejo, Blakely in reverse order there. That is your top top guys, but Rasmussen had to fight hard to keep himself in front of Moreno, who's all over his rear. That's the battle of kind of the alternate strategy, so to speak, and the guys will come into play later on in the Grand Prix. But that has to be one of the greatest starts of the season so far. Lucas Blakely, he was coming through whether Vallejo liked it or not.
It was incredible to see what a launch he got here, and I think Jarno Opmeer is looking to shape up a move on Patrick Saipos as these two came pretty close to each other in qualifying, as here comes Jarno Opmeer looking to go up the inside line, possibly in towards turn number one. He has a half-hearted move. He can't find the gap. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. I think he was looking for a gap that never really was going to open up, as Nicolas Mateo now is challenging onto the back of Jarno Opmeer, who managed to recollect himself as here he comes. I don't think he's going to be close enough to challenge Patrick Saipos as the both of them come to blows. It's been very close so far in this session, but they just about kept it clean. I didn't see any damage coming off the Mercedes car of Jarno Opmeer, so he is going to be able to continue crucially on that set of the medium compound tires. If he can keep with the soft runners, that is going to be to his advantage, as he's just got to run his race and possibly wait it out. I don't know if he needs to go for these moves early on, because these soft runners will have to pit before him.
Yeah, absolutely. Jarno just trying to stick his nose in there, but Stipos was in front as he came into the corner. So it was just a little bit unlucky for Jarno. Just caught the curb on the inside, had to correct on the wheel, but he's carried on. He still runs in P6 on the medium compound tire. Joni Tormala still running very nicely as the lead medium runner in this race. Vallejo with the fastest lap of the race. He's trying to look to the inside of Blakely, but he can't get up alongside Blakely. Cannot shake this young man here as Rasmussen makes moves now inside through Weigang, and he moves up to P10. So Freddie Rasmussen on the move in the Red Bull, and we move on to lap number 4 of 36. These laps will fly past in this Grand Prix. A very short lap around here. Blakely holds the lead. Vallejo, Donoso, Tormala, Sipos, Opmeer, Mateo, Schutze, Caraton and Rasmussen. Only one driver has pitted. That was Alessio Di Capo, who went off on lap number 1. He's boxed on the side of the hard compound tire. He's also had a wing change, so he will now trundle around at the back. Now, big trouble now for Alvaro Caraton, Dan. He's dropped out of DRS of the cars in front. He's dropped out of DRS of Tymon Shooter. Now he's got Freddie Rasmussen all over him, as I think there's an issue further down. Yamulo's had a spin. He's got back going again, thankfully. But now Caraton's in a bit of trouble. He's on the soft compound tire. I wonder, does he have damage of some kind? Because Rasmussen on the mediums is all over him here.
Yeah, if he can't find DRS coming in towards turn number 1, that could be detrimental for his race, because Freddie Rasmussen could potentially find an avenue to go through here, and you can see he's using up his overtaking. He wants to go for this move. Fastest lap coming up for Lucas Blakely. Here comes Freddie Rasmussen to the inside line. Alvaro Caraton not putting up too much of a fight, but Danny Moreno also fighting it out with Simon Weigang coming in towards the first corner. I think Simon Weigang wanted to have a little bit of a look in on the outside, but Danny Moreno just managed to make that move up the inside line. Brilliant stuff from the machine. Now he's up into P11. He's going to be searching for his fellow countryman of Alvaro Caraton, who looks to be struggling early on in this race. He just lost the position to Freddie Rasmussen. He soon could be losing it to Danny Moreno as well, as we'll just have a look at the top of the order. It doesn't seem like they're going to be wavering too much for the time being. Pretty much anyone inside the top 5, they're all separated by around about 0.4 of a second, so it's so close between this grid at the moment. But it just takes one mistake as Alvaro Caraton loses the position to Danny Moreno. I didn't even see that one coming, as he's really struggling in this race without DRS again to Freddie Rasmussen. What is going on with Alvaro Caraton? I can't see any wing damage, at least. He might have a slight bit which isn't visible, but it also could be due to possible side pod damage or rear wing damage. We just don't know at this point.
Yeah, it's looking like a handful, that Williams car at the moment of Alvaro Caraton, and he's clinging on at the moment. Rasmussen up to P9. He says the fastest lap of the race in P9. So Rasmussen very comfortable on those medium tyres at the moment as Simon Weigang and Jake Benham now go through, as Jake goes up the inside of Simon into turn 1, and that's another place gain. So Weigang struggling on the softs, as is Alvaro in this kind of early phase of the Grand Prix. Surprising to see the softs maybe starting to fall off for those guys further down, but no sign of that up front with Lucas Blakely. He's very comfortable out in front, 81% charge of the battery. Ruben Vallejo as well, about 80% in his 167 in the battery of Donoso. Joni Tormala also doing a superb job. He's nearly got a full charge of battery. He's on the mediums, don't forget. He's running P4. Patrick Sipos up behind him, 80% charge in the battery as well, 90% of the battery of Opmeer, so he's got loads to use. All the these guys not attacking and saving up that ERS just in case they need it further down through the race. And remember, of course, don't forget, rain expected towards the end of the race as well. Light rain, like we saw in Spa. We don't know if that's going to be a case of if mediums are going to, or if intermediate, sorry, are going to be the right tire to be on, or if they're going to stay on the dries. It all depends on how much rain falls and how much time. So have to wait to see. Vallejo, he's nipping at the back of Blakely as they come up towards turn one. He's being very patient. Carton into pit lane, Dan. And I think that is probably the damage we saw in yet new front wing getting prepped.
Oh dear, unlucky there for both. Williams driving now at the rear of the field. We've got a battle for P12 at the moment. Stahelek looked to the outside line of turn number 1 on Simon Weigang. Couldn't quite find an avenue, but potentially through the next part of the circuit. He's got a hell of a lot of battery in that Ferrari car, and he could be challenging on Simon Weigang, who has not got DRS, crucially, to Jake Benham in front of him as they fly through the middle sector at the moment. He was all over the back of him at this point last lap by. So potentially he could go for the move in towards the chicane, and that certainly looks like what he's trying to shape up towards at the moment. Is here comes Piotr Stahelek. He just seems to get a better X than Simon Weigang, who I think is got a little bit of straight line speed as the tankers. Oh, defending a little bit harshly to the inside line, as I don't think Stahelek would be too pleased with that one there, but all is fair in racing when it comes to that sometimes, as Stahelek can't find an avenue this time by. Let's check back in with the leaders, because they're going to be coming towards turn number 1. Room Vallejo gets so close every lap by, but he just can't find a move as Danny Moreno sets the fastest lap of this race so far. It's all shaping up to be a brilliant one so far. Here's Stahelek once again to the outside line. Louis Welch also trying to find a look in on Simon Weigang. Can he make the move in towards possibly turn number 3 if he can sneak up the inside? He's just not close enough. Simon Weigang is doing a brilliant job of defending here.
Yeah, I wonder does Simon have damage here, because he's not on his normal pace here. Simon Weigang and Peter Stahelek is all over his rear as they come up to turn number 5. Look at him through there. He's nearly pushing him through the corner, and Weigang is hanging on here, but he's losing so much time here as Stahelek. So he's got to get himself through to catch up to the next guys. Danny Moreno, by the way, with that fast lap, he's dragged himself into the DRS of Rasmussen in front, and Rasmussen is now back on the back of the lead train. Really, it's the lead train back from P1 to P10 as Moreno joins that train now as well. Then it's 1.8 seconds to Benham, who's on his own really. It's 1.8 seconds to the car in front, 1.9 to the rear, as look at that train of cars behind Weigang. He's got so many cars just itching to get past here. Stahelek, Welch, Sebastian Job and Tomek Paradzic here now. Surely Stahelek's got him now on the way down towards turn 1. Easy move by the Ferrari. He had to wait an extra lap now. What about Lewis Welch? Does he get the job done as well? He's going to go around the outside of turn 1 here. Lewis Welch, can he get the job done in the Aston Martin? Gets the power on, side by side. Contact on the way out, but Lewis Welch goes around the outside in turn 1. Weigang did everything to try to keep him behind, but Lewis Welch on the pad is on the charge on the mediums as well.
Brilliant stuff there from Louis Welch, seeing the opportunity presented in front of him, and Simon Weigang, his troubles are going to keep on continuing here, because he loses another position to Sebastian Job and possibly to Tomek Paradzic, who is following in behind at the moment, who started in last position. Oh, catch of the curb, or something wrong with his brakes there as Tomek Paradzic, he managed to save it in the end, but that was a heart-in-mouth moment for him as lap number 9 rolls on here, coming to almost a third of the way through in this race. We're actually about a quarter at this point, at the end of this lap, as Ruben Vallejo still looking onto the back of Lucas Blakely. He's about 4 tenths behind at the moment. This isn't a very long straight, and I don't think he wants to use his ERS. He certainly could go for this move. Someone who is going to go for a move is, I thought it was Timon Shooter, but Nicholas Mateo is the first of the soft runners.
Ruben's going for it, up for the lead right here. He looks up the inside, but can't get the exit. He did have a look very late on the brakes through turn 1, but yes, he does have to slot behind. Now the battling begins. Nicholas Mateo's at the pit, as you said, and he's boxed onto a set of medium compound tire, but now it's stacking up the front. Vallejo, followed by the Alpine of Donoso. Tormal is in there, Sipos, then Otmir, but Shooter dropping back there. He's out of DRS of the cars in front, and we'll have to wait to see what's going to happen here, as we're just sorting out some tech issues. Everybody just stay calm on the live chat. We're sorting at the moment. We're going to keep the audio commentary going for you guys here, as we're going to get towards the next phase of the Grand Prix. Vallejo now in front of Blakely as he made the move stick through the middle sector now, as they come up through the next part of the lap right now. Lap 10 of 36. Round the next corner they come to begin lap number 11. Is anybody going to come into pit lane on this lap? Jarno Watmere all over the back of Patrick Sipos now, up towards turn number 1. He's looking for the move. Sipos defends the inside line. Watmere can't get through on the inside. Sipos into the back of Tormola in turn 1. Side by side they go. Watmere versus Tormola on the way through the next corner, and Tormola stays in front just about there as they head through the next corner. There was contact. Sipos went into the back of somebody right there, and Watmere now behind Tormola all over his rear now as they form their way through this next part of the lap. Crucial drama there in this next race. Stay calm in the live chat. We're going to get the stream back to you in just a few moments time. But drama. Sipos goes through into the back of the car in front, get into the back of Tormola, and Tormola now a very interesting moment right there for now, but it's getting very hot at the front right now. Vallejo back to the lead. Lucas Blakely runs in second. Donoso third. Tormola fourth. Watmere in P5. Shooter behind. Rasmussen Moreno also up at the front of this race as well. Round the next right they come again. Vallejo round the last corner he comes. Blakely follows him. Donoso third. Right behind him now, and in comes Ruben Vallejo. He's going to pit from the race lead, and he now brings in Tymon Shooter with him as well. So Lucas Blakely leads the race. Then it's Donoso, then Tormola, then Watmere, then Rasmussen, Moreno, then in P6. We have live pictures back at the circuit right now. A little bit of drama right now, but it's settled back into Blakely, Donoso, Tormola, Watmere, Rasmussen at the front, Dan.
Yeah, I do apologise for that. My game unfortunately crashed, but we are back underway in PSGL. That was a bit of a worry there. It does tend to do that from time to time, but we will move past it. We're on lap number 12 of this Grand Prix, and most drivers have pitted from the soft compound of tyre. It is Ruben Vallejo ahead of Nicolas Matteo at this point. Those are the first to pit, and Tymon Shooter and Piotr Stahalek as well, not too far off the rear here, as I see a lot of W's coming out from Mr. Big C, as we are back, everybody, so you don't have to worry anymore, as I think surely at this point Fabrizio Donoso and Lucas Blakely, the undercut is pretty powerful around this circuit. They might want to think about a pit stop soon. Is either one of them going to go for it? Lucas Blakely into the pit lane.
Absolutely, yeah, and now Donoso leads. So now it's all about Blakely and Vallejo. Where does he come out relative to Ruben Vallejo, who came in? Can he make the undercut work? Here comes Vallejo. Blakely's on his way out of the pit lane right now. Let's see if Vallejo can get the job done. Blakely's on the inside in turn 1. Vallejo's going to carry the momentum, and Vallejo is going to get him just about on the exit. Blakely closes up the gap. Nicolas Matteo as well with a 2-lap undercut, nearly gets in front of him. But Vallejo does the job on Lucas Blakely and takes the net race lead for now. Brilliant job. Donoso now is going to be the next man to pit, and then it'll be Joni Tormola at the head of the field. But now I'm rubbing my hands here. Look at the cars behind. Watmere, Rasmussen, Moreno. This is what we want to see behind, and Tormola leads them on the medium compound tyre behind. And it was such a crucial thing. I know you guys on the stream missed it, but there was a big contact. Sipos went into the back of Tormola, and he did so well to hang on to that place, because if that could have been a huge turning point in this race. Now Donoso, he's going to peel into pit lane, and Joni Tormola will lead here at Zandvoort. Watmere's behind him. Rasmussen and Moreno are your top 4, and we wait to see where does Donoso come out relative to his rivals. It's Ruben Vallejo and Lucas Blakely. Blakely going for it on Vallejo here down towards turn 1. Donoso's on his way out of the pit lane. Blakely retakes it on the way through the first corner. No sign of Donoso. He's going to emerge behind those two in front, and just about tight with Matteo. Matteo's going to get out in front of him, not what he needed, but it's a great job from Lucas Blakely. Retakes that net race lead. But now Joni Tormola has got Watmere, Rasmussen and Moreno behind him. Such pressure on him, Dan.
Oh, he is really going to be feeling the heat here. But we do know this driver, he is good under pressure as lap 14 continues on here. The medium runners now lead this one, who started on this compound. I'm just looking at the skies ahead. Clouds are beginning to gather. It was more sunny at the beginning of this Grand Prix, so rain could still be on the horizon, and we are still forecasted to see it here as Jarno Watmere down the straightaway here will really get to see his intentions as to what he wants to do with Joni Tormala, and by the fact that he's not pushing, I don't think he wants to go for this move. He wants to sit in the slipstream and DRS and save his resources later on in the Grand Prix to really attack him. So I think that is the right call. Of course, we're only on lap 15. You can't win it until the race ends, but you can make up position, because here comes Maurizio Donoso sliding his way up the inside line of Nicolas Matteo in towards turn number 1. Not much Nicolas Matteo could have done there, as he's on slightly older tyres than Fabrizio Donoso, as he's just come out of the pit lane. He's on the freshest compound of tyres at the moment. The Chilean driver going to be probably the quickest driver on circuit at the moment. You can just see he's weaving as well, just trying to get that little bit of extra heat into his tyres. So brilliant stuff there from the Alpine car.
Absolutely, yes. Still Tormala, Otmir, Rasmussen, Moreno, your top 4 out in front. Then it's Jake Benham running P5, Sebastian Job up in P6 right now. So AlphaTauri on for a really good day if they can hang on to this position right now. Lap 16 of 36 on the way right now. And you've now got Rasmussen in a Mercedes sandwich. Otmir and Moreno either side of him. And Moreno now pushing on behind Otmir as well. As they come up towards turn 1, Otmir being very patient, just saving some ERS, saving the tyres behind Joni Tormala. Rasmussen just being patient there as well, as is Moreno. They're not pushing on to go past each other just yet, but this is going to be angsty times for Joni Tormala, as Otmir almost getting into the rear of Tormala on the braking zone there, and loses a small bit of time on the exit right there. And now we wait to see what these guys are going to do with the pit strategy, because we know there's rain coming, but we don't know. We only know it's light rain, but we've seen in the previous round, light rain does not necessarily mean intermediate tyres, so it could be a very interesting strategy call for some of these guys, what they decide to go on. But Blakely now on the back of the train of the cars in front. He's caught up to Cedric Tomei, and Vallejo's going with them. Donoso's going with them as well. So they're catching up to the first runners that have yet to stop. So Tomei's yet to stop, and everybody else in front of him is yet to stop on this run. So Blakely's got to try and make his way past this traffic as quickly as he can in this race to try and capitalize on these medium tyres. As now lap 17 of 36, approaching the halfway point here, and now Tormala is desperately trying to hang on versus Otmir, who's closing up to massively towards turn 1, and now Otmir's advantage in the battery is coming into effect. Now he's got 80%, Tormala only half his battery available.
Fastest lap coming out from Lucas Blakely in the first of the traffic. Going to be cleared by the Scotsman. He makes his way back up into the points-paying positions, into P10 on that fresh set of the medium tyres. He's trying to go as long as he can towards the end of this race. He's only on, well, until if we do see intermediate conditions, he's just got to be as committed as possible to making overtakes. And Dario Yamulo is going to be his next rival. We saw Jarno Otmir trying for the move on Joni Tormala, but he backed out in the end. He broke a bit earlier than he probably would have normally, so I think he is still trying to sit behind, but he is closing like a rocket in towards the stadium section as the crowd roars. The Dutchman trying to overtake the Finn of Joni Tormala. Both of these drivers on the same strategy, starting in the top 10. Can Jarno Otmir potentially go for a move on his rival in this one? And you can see he's using up the overtake here. He's used it just off the exit. Now he's turned off, coming in towards turn number 1. He goes to the inside line. Jarno Otmir, easy move on Joni Tormala. No defense held there by the AlphaTauri car, but Jarno Otmir leads on lap number 18. We're just at the halfway stage of this race, and I know already that the live chat is going to go absolutely crazy with that one there, as there's more battles further back behind. Lucas Blakely makes the move on Dario Yamulo, and Rune Vallejo goes past Cedric Tomei. So at lap 18, it's all kicking off here, and I think Danny Moreno also trying to close up to the back of Freddie Rasmussen. It's getting spicy, Jack.
Absolutely, the crowd has gone wild for Jarno taking the lead at the home Grand Prix, but Joni Tormala is certainly not out of the just now. This gives him an opportunity to save some battery here, but Jarno's going to be trying to use it now to try and maybe build a small gap as Donoso makes his way past Cedric Tomei as well, but it'll settle up here at the front. Rasmussen now on the back of Tormala on the exit now. Moreno following him as well as they come round the last corner, halfway point of the race right now. Moreno nibbling at the back of Rasmussen as they come round to begin lap 19 of 36. Any move's going to be made here. Rasmussen closing on Tormala, but he doesn't have the pace advantage. Oh, nearly gets into Tormala on the brakes right there. very nearly a front wing bit came flying there, but luckily he got away with it. Absolute inches and millimeters separating the rear end of Tormola's car and the front wing of Rasmussen's car, and you can tell now he's just trying to be patient right now. It looks like Rasmussen's got more pace to give, but he's also thinking about the long game here, looking after that ERS charge, looking after the tyres in behind Tormola. But that could have been another instant that we've seen in turn one. Sipos got into the back of Tormola that time. That was nearly a second car going into his rear end.
Yeah, I think Joni Tormola's, I think he'd be happy that he's still got his rear wing at the moment, as lap number 19 is about to come to a close. I'm getting worried for these medium runners that the rain will not come in time for them to not be in puncture territory. I'd imagine that their tyre wear is not looking in a good place whatsoever. As coming on to begin lap number 20, we've still got 17 laps left in this Grand Prix. It's far from over at this point, as Joni Tormola possibly looking up the inside. He doesn't have the speed to go for the overtake. I think they're all trying to settle in and save these tyres as much as possible, because the cloud coverage is still beginning to build. You can see we're on board with the Red Bull car, Freddie Rasmussen. Pretty much all resonance of sunlight is completely covered by cloud, so we are not too far from potential light rain conditions. It is forecasted for this race. We will likely see it towards the end of the Grand Prix. Whether that comes in time for these medium runners to not make the extra pit stop, that remains to be seen, as Rumvele, I think he'll be looking onto the back of Dario Yamulo.
Yeah, Ruben's been kind of stuck behind Yamulo here. He's not been able to get through past the Italian in this race, and Blakely's broken away now. You can see Blakely's in nice clean air up to the back of Paragic is his next target, so Blakely's is in a brilliant position right now, if it doesn't rain, that is, for the front runners. We'll have to wait to see. They're going to drop a long way back behind Blakely once the rain comes, or if it decides to come. It may come a bit too late in this Grand Prix for the front runners, but they're going to try push on. I'm assuming they're pushing on for a reason here, the front runners. They wouldn't do it if they didn't think it was coming. Vallejo now finally gets past for the position on Dario Yamulo. So very important position there for him to gain. Now he can chase after Lucas Blakely, but now the rain has come down. Here it comes. It's arrived at Zandvoort. Drops beginning to fall in the first sector, and that's exactly what the front runners needed.
The heavens have opened above the Dutch Grand Prix in PSGL. It is still not going to be straight away intermediate conditions, but those medium tyres still have some longevity left in them, especially the ones of Freddie Rasmussen and Danny Moreno. Of course, they started outside the top 10 and they got a fresh set of tyres, but now surely this is going to be their call to push as much as possible to try and make the overtakes, and before the intermediate conditions come, as Fabrizio Donoso makes the move stick on Dario Yamulo. Here comes, oh dear, we've had another game crash at possibly the worst moment.
Oh dear, it's trying to kill us here. It looks like the game's just trying to kill us. We'll keep the radio commentary going, guys, but it always happens at the wrong moment. Tormel is going for the lead here in turn number one, but he can't quite get it done at the front of the field. Everybody stick together in the chat. We will keep you updated on everything. We will get the stream back to you in just a second's time. So as we now file towards the middle sector right now, it's still Otmir, Tormel, Rasmussen, Moreno. 6.1 seconds back, Jake Benham under a lot of pressure from Sebastian Job, Lewis Welch, Tomek Paragic, Lucas Blakely runs in P9. He's caught up to that train as well. He's caught in traffic at the moment. Otmir in front of Tormela still as they come round to begin lap 23. The rain's coming down pretty heavily in this race as they look through now. Simon Weigang out of the race in this moment in time. The safety car is out in this race. The safety car has come out at Zandvoort as Simon Weigang crashes out in this Grand Prix. The safety car emerges for the second time this season, and Jarno Otmir is now in the lead of the safety car train. Joni Tormela has now got to try to stick behind. Alessio Di Capo has come in to fit some soft tyres on. We're getting the stream back going, guys. Otmir boxes from the lead. Tormela in, Rasmussen in, all the front runners all boxing from the top four. Jake Benham's also going to come in as well. Sebastian Job and everybody else are going to pit under this safety car but that's not ideal for Lucas Blakely and co for the safety car to come out. And now Joni Tormola has put on intermediates, Jarno Watmir on softs, so they've split strategies completely. I wonder, did Tormola mean to put on intermediates there? The string's back once again as the game's trying to kill us today. But I'm interested to see. I wonder, is that a mistake, or is it conditions are good enough for intermediates? Yumulo and Sebastian Job on intermediate tyres, but Tormola on the inters, up here on the softs, and everybody else opting for dry tyres as well, Dan. Very intriguing stuff.
Yeah, I've just checked on the timing tower. Freddie Rasmussen is out of this race. Is it possible that he went onto a set of the medium compound tyres and just realised, oh no, I did not mean to go onto this set, and he just straight up retired? He's now out of this race.
I didn't even see that happen, I'll be honest. He just pinged out of existence in the pit lane. Rasmussen, unfortunately, not going to finish this race. He's left the session altogether, so I wonder, I think you're right, Dan. It could have been a pit stop, a mishap or something that's caused him to DNF from this race, but no matter for now. But now it's Blakely, Vallejo and Otmir top three, but that's worked out lovely for Jarno Otmir. He's come out in front of Tormola, and of course now he's on fresh soft tyres. Blakely and Vallejo are on old mediums, so it depends now. Does the rain get worse? Obviously Otmir thinks it's going to remain this way, and of course we're expecting it to dry up, so I don't know. Could Tormola have thrown the race away there? We don't know, but safety car is going to remain out for a couple of laps here after Simon Weigang's exit from the race. Benham's into pit. He just pitted, and he's coming back into the pits right now, and he's gonna go for the intermediate. So the inters look like to be the tyre of choice, Dan.
Yeah, we've just seen on the right-hand side of everyone's screen, it is now pit window open for intermediate tyres. I think not Freddie Rasmussen, Joni Tormola has pulled a master stroke here, because now, if everyone has to come in for intermediates, you can just see on the ground as well how bad it looks. It looks like it is a lot of rain on the circuit, big reflections off the Ferrari car as well. So I do believe that the time for intermediates is now, and surely that means if everyone comes into the pit lane, the grid will be completely shuffled around. It's going to be so awful for drivers that are near about their teammate, or just even behind their teammate at this point. I'm thinking the likes of Danny Moreno, the likes of probably Sebastian. Actually, no, he doesn't have to pit. The likes of Louis Welch as well. He's on the intermediates. I just think the one driver that is going to miss out is going to be Danny Moreno. Surely he's going to be to the back of the grid as the safety car rolls on here. I wonder if I do believe we have served our minimum, as there's overtaking further back, but I do believe we've served our minimum 2 laps under safety car. The grid is not completely stacked up because Alessio De Capua hasn't caught up, so that does give everyone the opportunity to potentially come into the pit lane. As you can see, Lucas Blakely, under safety car conditions, is sliding about on the set of these slicks. He's surely got to box at this point. The safety car is pulling away from him as coming through turn 14. You can see how wet this track is, and he's sliding once again. He's struggling for grip, and is he going to come into the pit lane? He stays out.
Matteo's in the background, and this could be an absolute strategic masterstroke from AlphaTauri, because Sebastian Job is also on the intermediate tyres, and he's rocketing up through the order now as everybody behind pits onto intermediate tyres. This has got so interesting, in that this is what we didn't see at Spa last time, and Blakely stayed out, Vallejo has stayed out, Otmir stayed out, Moreno, Schutte have all stayed out, in the hopes that it's going to dry up or stop very soon. But now all cars in the hands of Joni Tormola and Sebastian Job. Sebastian Job has come from nowhere now to be in a position. And how about Lewis Welch as well? He's up technically now. If everybody pits in front of him, he's in a net P3 in this race on those intermediate tyres. Now, this is why we love rain in these races. Alessio De Cap was also coming to pit lane and put on a set of intermediates. That means he's even further back than he was. He's going to try catch the safety car field right now. He's not caught up, so it could be another lap under safety car here, Dan.
Yeah, normally we get the notification from race control if we are going to get back underway around about this point, just after here. Once they cross into the final sector, we're right on board with Lucas Blakely. There it is, safety car coming in this lap. The safety car's got to have the opportunity to ride away from the drivers, and then it is up to Lucas Blakely as his discretion as to when and where they start. And surely on the set of the slicks is not going to be easy. I think we've got to ride on board with the man in 4th position, Joni Tormola, who is right behind Jarno Ottmer, who is sliding across the circuit. Lucas Blakely is, there's contact between the leaders. 5-second penalties between the pair of them, as now they're going to get onto the restart safety car. Still not in the box. Lucas Blakely, he's not gone yet. He's got to pull the trigger sometime soon. More contact between the pair of them. That might be another penalty as they're back underway. And indeed, more penalties. It's one of the slowest. Oh my goodness me. Tormola into turn 1. Pips off Jarno Ottmer and Ruben Vallejo into P2 in towards turn 1. And he slips up the inside line of Lucas Blakely. He makes a move and he leads the race.
Oh my word, the intermediate runners eat them alive. Sebastian Job goes through the P4, and now Lewis Welch round the outside. Blakely, Lewis Welch in the second. Sebastian Job moves up to P3. It's certainly wet here at Zandvoort. The dry runners are falling away down the order. Joni Tormola leads, Lewis P2, Sebastian Job P3, Matteo Benham Sipos as now look at all, they're down the order. Vallejo's down in P2, Ottmer's down in 12th, Donoso Moreno, all of these guys on the dries are faffing around down the order. This has flipped on its head. Joni Tormola leads the race, Lewis Welch is second, and Sebastian Job is on now for a potential podium. 10 laps to go, Dan. This is unbelievable stuff that we're seeing here.
Who'd have thought this would be the grid we were seeing towards the end of the race? The slick runners have lost it all. They gambled their race away, and you can see they're all at a snail's pace. Joni Tormola has pulled out a 1.7 second gap to Louis Welch, who is making his return to F1 here, up from F2. He had a disastrous race last night, but he's now on the podium and in P2 as more moves looking to be made further back behind. Cedric Tomei could possibly be going for an overtake on Tomek Paracic. He doesn't seem like he is going, and there it is. 2 drivers into the pit lanes, Lucas Blakely and Danny Moreno, and surely for a set of the intermediates. Lap 27, we are coming to the twilight of the Dutch Grand Prix. The podium positions at the moment is Joni Tormola, Louis Welch and Sebastian Job. It is an AlphaTauri 1-3, and if Sebastian Job can close up to Louis Welch, well then it'll be a 1-2 for the sister team of Red Bull. I can't believe we are seeing this today. What a race we have witnessed.
And to add even more interest, Dan, Jarno is staying out. He's still not pitted. I think he's under the impression this is going to clear up at some point, but I cannot understand why he's still out there in these conditions with these dry tires. And look at it, it's just absolutely zero grip out in there, and he is drifting that car around at his home Grand Prix down in 13th. Is the podium streak at PSGL about to come to an end at last after 15 consecutive podiums here at PSGL? Could this be it for Jarno in his chase of that 100% record? Joni Tormola across the line to begin lap 28 of 36. Lewis Welch running in P2, Sebastian Job in P3. It is going to dry up, but we don't know when it's going to dry out. Obviously, Ottmer thinks it's going to dry up very soon if he's staying out to continue on in this race. Moreno's pitted to put on the intermediate tires as well, but it could very well, we don't know, it could dry up very, very fast, and suddenly the dry tires could come back into this. Vallejo's pitting right now for another set. As Secretary Vallejo's out of the race, he's now DNF from the Grand Prix, and he is not going to finish this race. What a shame for Ruben, who started on pole position, and he's not going to finish this race. Wow, this is unreal. Moreno now on the charge up through the field. He's picking off the dry runners. Only Ottmer and Schutter are the ones left out on the dries in these conditions. I don't know how they're hanging onto the car right now, but Moreno will fly up to his teammate here. He's catching nearly 2 seconds a corner through this one. You can visually see Blakely makes his way through past it as well, but now Ottmer getting well out of the way of Moreno. You can even see he's caught up 3 seconds in one sector. He's going to lose so much time once this, if this rain clears up.
Yeah, if he was waiting for it to get dry, well, he's already lost a pit stop. It has just been a complete strategic blunder for every driver that opted to stay out. As Sebastian Job is closing up to the back of Louis Welch, we still could see a fight for P2 in this Grand Prix. Maybe the drivers we weren't expecting in this one to be battling it out, but The drivers that are there are Louis Welch and Sebastian Job. Nicholas Matteo has managed to crawl his way out of the fire, of course, in the train that was a part of Lucas Blakely, Room Vallejo, all the front runners. He's managed to climb himself out of the pit of fire that is the leaders of days past, as Dario Yamulo gets past Timon Shooter, as it is just all completely unraveled for the likes of Blakely, Otmir and and Vallejo. All of these guys completely gone out of the window. Surely the podium streak of Jarno Otmir, it has to be in the coffin at the moment.
Yeah, looks like it. The rain easing off a little bit, though, because there's still a little bit of hope here for these guys. It's not easing off enough, though. About 7 laps to go at Zandvoort, not long at all. And Otmir drops another position. Jonny Tormel across the line to begin another lap. Can Alpha Tauri get themselves a 1-2? But Lewis Welch, I mean, what is this man doing up in P2? This is sublime from the guy who runs in F2. He was up in F1 last season on the controller, and he's now fighting, filling in for Shanika Clay, and he's up in P2 with a brilliant strategic call with Sebastian Job up behind him. If you're not familiar with Sebastian Job, he is, of course, from a former Porsche Esports Super Cup champion on iRacing, one of the most competitive series on the planet, and he is jumping over to F1, a huge learning curve for him, and he's now fighting to get himself his team a top 2 in this race. Let's see if they can do it. Nicholas Mateo running in P4 as well, a former race winner in PSGL last season, won the Italian Grand Prix in front of Alvaro Carazon, and Jake Benham has come from nowhere in this Grand Prix to be back up in P5. He fought for the win last time out in Spa, and now he might get himself another top 5 to add to his collection. But now these guys further down are running out of laps here. Will the rain ease off? At this point, it looks like this is going to be a Shooter spun it in the first corner, and he's got back going again. But this is unraveling horrendously for the 2 Dutch drivers. Unbelievably, down the 2 Dutch drivers have really let this one go to waste.
Yeah, in their home Grand Prix, it's going to be soul-crushing for them to be in this situation. They just were not prepared simply for the wet conditions. They thought it would possibly stay dry, and they opted to stay out on the tyre that they started on, or they pitted on initially. As we begin lap 31. I'm losing my voice here if you couldn't already tell. Sebastian Job fighting with Louis Welch for 2nd position. Alpha Tauri looking for a 1-2 finish as yellow flags through sector 2. We're about to come through this sector now, so we'll actually see who the casualty is. As oh yeah, it's Timon Shooter. You can see him pulling off to the left-hand side. It is all over for him. I'd say there is no chance of any points on the cards for Timon Shooter, and I think it's serving a little bit of a distraction to Sebastian Job, because he's lost a bit of time to Louis Welch here, now falling into the clutches of Nicholas Mateo.
Jarno's given up. He's got onto the inters at last, but that's far too. Eventually pit. But now, unbelievably, he is about, well, if he can get out now, he's going to do it quickly. He's nearly gone a lap down in this race. Jonny Tormela is just coming down the front straight now, and this has gone horribly wrong for Jarno Otmir today. He's down in 16th place. He's put on the intermediate tyres, but surely now Shooter with a huge spin in the last corner again. He's facing across the middle of the road. He's trying to get that car back to pit lane, and he will do so. But wow, 16th and 17th, Timon Shooter and Jarno Otmir. And surely now, well, what Jarno needs now, Dan, is a safety car.
Absolutely, as Timon Shooter retires in the pit lane. He is, well, there are no longer any slick runners in this race, and even though the race hasn't panned out his way, I do have the utmost admiration for Jarno Otmir to continue along in this one here. He's in 16th and he's 30 seconds behind of any other car on circuit, but he is trying to find any semblance of hope in this race, and I do really respect that there. And other drivers I am respecting are Louis Welch and Sebastian Job. Louis Welch is not having the greatest of seasons in F2 at the moment, and he's really just he's reminding everyone he is the the best pad driver that there has ever graced the F1 scene. But Sebastian Job, he doesn't care about that. He's on a wheel and he's going to be tracking down the Aston Martin car who is subbing in for Shanika Clay. It doesn't seem like he's got the speed to go for it in towards turn number 1. Lap 33 has just begun and Joni Tormala leads this race by a comfortable 3.3 second margin back to Louis Welch. If he can bring it home here, it might be one of his greatest drives in his career.
Yeah, and Sebastian Job on for maybe a debut podium in this race. But he'd love to get a 1-2 for AlphaTauri today. And well, this has been the most incredible Grand Prix. As the rain, well, I mean, it stopped. The rain has stopped, ladies and gentlemen. So I mean, Jarno, I think, was on the right track right there, but I think it's just stopped at the wrong time frame, so everything is just not falling into place here for Jarno Opmeer. But the rain has stopped at Zandvoort with 3 laps to go, and I'm sure now, is anybody going to risk coming into the pit lane to put on a set of slicks? I doubt it. It's not going to dry up that quickly in this race, but Joni Tormala has 3.4 seconds to the next car. 3 laps to go at Zandvoort for Joni Tormala to try and secure himself a debut win in this race. And yes, you are not mistaken, that car that is just in front of him is Jarno Opmeer, but he's not leading the race, Dan. He's nearly a lap down. How about this?
It is a real shame to see in his home Grand Prix as Tomek Paradzic and Fabrizio Donoso both coming into the pit lane. They're going to opt for the soft tyres. They are in the lower end of the points playing positions, but surely it's not going to dry up in time for them to really get the maximum out of these tyres. But they're going to gamble for it, and I do respect that. Tomek on a fresh set of the soft. Fabrizio, those tyres are slightly used, probably from one of the early qualifying sessions, probably Q1, I would imagine. But he's going to go for it, and they only have just under 3 laps left to go in this race to make the most of the soft. They're sitting in 11th and 12th place as Donoso actually got a time penalty, and I think Paradzic has gone for a spin. And that, if that doesn't say that it's not ready for the slick tyres, I don't know what does.
Yeah, and Moreno just gets straight lines it past Donoso, and Blakely as well, as they just trundle around to finish out this race. And 2 laps left for the Finn out front. And did I not say that I could sense something from Joni Tormala today? Around the last corner he comes, and I told you that we were going to see an upset today, but I didn't expect this much of an upset. As 2 laps to go, 3.7 seconds is the gap to Lewis Welch behind, who is doing an immense job at the moment to hang these guys behind. Another sector 2. Tomek has spun again in the middle sector. He's got back going again, though, thankfully for him. But this could be, I mean, this is going to be the first time, Dan, unless something happens up front, that the Mercedes are going to score 0 points in this race. Moreno's down in 11th, and Opmeer's down in 16th, and last of the runners at the moment in this Grand Prix. Now, that could change very quickly. He's going to catch up to Yamulo and maybe Tomek. I doubt maybe Tomek, but Yamulo anyway. But this is a massive change for what we're used to. But I mean, this is league racing. This is what it throws up. If you make a wrong decision, that's where you end up.
League racing comes first, everybody, and this is what it is all about in this one, as Tomek Paradzic retires on circuit, presumably from a crash there, and I don't really blame him. It's too late for the safety car to come out, as we've only got 1 more lap of racing. Tomek leaves the session. We are now down to 15 runners, as Dario makes it 14 by retiring in the pit lane. But Joni Tormala, what a race he has had so far in this one. He's currently coming through turn number 1 on the final lap of this Grand Prix. He had the advantage coming into this race with the tyres, of course, starting on the mediums, but he has made the absolute most of it, and he's made the correct calls at the correct moments. Joni Tormala, he's got 1 lap to bring it home here, and he's going to do it in style.
Absolutely, and he has done a strategic master stroke at AlphaTauri, and for Sebastian Job as well, who is trying to catch up to Lewis Welch here, but it doesn't look like it's going to come for him here in this moment in time. But we knew there'd be an upset eventually in PSGL. We just didn't expect this kind. But Joni Tormala has put on some serious performances in round 1 and in round 2. Didn't have the qualifying to back it up, but today he has pulled off an amazing strategic call in the wet. Leave it to the the finish to make the calls here. Into the stadium section in the last few corners here at the Dutch Grand Prix. They will rise to acclaim this stunning race, this amazing race at Zandvoort. It won't be the Dutch who take it today. It's the Finnish who will rise in acclamation. Joni Tormala wins the Dutch Grand Prix. Amazing stuff from the Finnish driver. Lewis Welch, P2 in Aston Martin, and Sebastian Job gets a podium for AlphaTauri, P3, and the podium streak of Jarno Watmir ends at his home Grand Prix. He's going to trundle home for 13th place in this race. No points at all for Mercedes. A point score for Aston Martin. Danny Moreno gets a P11. Blakely will only manage P12. Jarno Watmir in 13th place. And wow, what a day. Those were the guys who started up at the front, remember. And Lucas Blakely, who started in P2, ends up in P12 in this Grand Prix. But Joni Tormala, absolutely brilliant. He did everything right in this race. Defended against Otmir, made the right calls on the tyres, and he's come out a well-deserving victor. And a massive hat tip to Lewis Welch. He stood in last minute at Aston Martin and picks up his first podium in PCF1 at PSGL. And also to Sebastian Job, who gets his first ever podium in this championship as well. What a race, what a Grand Prix, no points for Merck, and that makes the championship a bit interesting.
What a race we have just witnessed here as Jarno Otmir, he's going to finish backwards. He finished it in style. He's not going to be pleased with how this race is done. The strategic blunder coming out from him there as the race draws to a close. Joni Tormala, what a race from him there. Sebastian Job gets the driver of the day award. What a performance from him. But it is Joni Tormala, the Finnish driver. He stands atop here and he takes the win in Zandvoort. And Louis Welch, hats off to this young driver. On the pad as well, coming up from F2 and into F1 just for a one-off event, filling in for Shanika Clay. He takes the podium, and Sebastian Job as well finishing in third. Let's have a little look at the running order and just a confirmation of how this race has ended out. Joni Tormala wins this race, Louis Welch in second, third for Sebastian Job, and Nicholas Matteo just missing out on a podium in fourth. And Jake Benham, hats off to him, all the way from 17th on the grid, eliminated in Q1. The young Englishman does it again. He finishes in P5. P6 for Patrick Saipos. Caraton had a quiet race in 7th. A good recovery drive from him, and Cedric Tomei in 8th. And also a little shout out to Piotr Stahalek, who's made his F1 debut here, and he scores points. He finished in 9th. 10th for Alessio de Capua. And then the rest of your order is as follows: Danny Moreno, Lucas Blakely, Jarno Otmir, Fabrizio Donoso, Dario Yamulo, Tomek Perez, Timon Shooter, Ruben Vallejo, Freddie Rasmussen, and then Simon Weigang, who brought out the safety car with his crash. But what a race we have just witnessed here, and I really am hoping for some driver interviews.
Yeah, I hope so. I wonder, we'd normally get Jarno into chat, but I don't know if he's going to be in the mood for chats today after that one. But we want to say, of course, a massive, massive thank you to everybody who stuck with us throughout that Grand Prix as well. The game really wanted to kill us today, but we fought through it nonetheless, and we're very, very honoured that you stuck with us. 3,000 of you stuck with us throughout the whole Grand Prix. And also a huge thank you to everybody, because we've crossed over 8,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel as well. And we continue to rise despite everything of PSGL. And we thank you for your continued support at these times as well. But what a Grand Prix! And I tell you what, George missed a race. Did he miss a race or what?
Oh, I'm feeling a little bit bad that his internet just completely gave out. But I'd also like to give a big thank you to the PSGL admin team for bringing me up for this race. Normally I'm doing F2, and it is an absolute honour to commentate on such a high caliber grid. This surely is the peak of my commentary career. It is no doubt, as I also would like to mention one thing. Thank you to everyone for following the PSGL Twitter. We have just crossed over 4,000 followers on that platform. So we are breaking records in PSGL. We are climbing up the ranks. They will not suppress us. And we are absolutely massive at the moment. Hopefully we can get some of the drivers into the commentary box. I'm not too sure how the procedure comes out here, but I'd really hope that we get some of these guys in. But let's talk about that race and the masterclass from Joni Tormala there. What a performance from him, and it really was helped out by, I think, the safety car.
It really was, yeah. Joni made a brilliant call there. I know some of you guys in the chat are asking standings. We won't be able to get them on the stream for you, but I can give you them at this moment. Jarno still leads the championship despite the issues today. And, well, I tell you what, look, P2 now belongs to Jake Benham in the championship. He is now 14 points off the championship lead in P2. Danny Moreno drops to third, and Joni Tormala moves up to fourth in the standings. But 14 points, still an advantage of Jarno, so not a massive disaster for him. But, wow, I mean, Jake Benham, who would have thought he's up in second in this championship? That's amazing.
Yeah, it is really insane to see. He is a star of tomorrow, I would say, and another brilliant performance from Jake coming out tonight. I saw Louis Welch in the live chat at the moment. He's confused as to where he needs to go because I don't think he's actually ever had an interview in PSGL. Louis, if you are still watching here, join the waiting room. We'll pull you in because I'd be so pleased to have a chat to him, and I think we do need to talk about him. He's not had the best of seasons in F2, but we will move him over. Louis Welch, you are finally a podium sitter in PSGL F1. How does that one feel?
Dan, I actually got one last season in Spa.
Oops, my fault there.
But yeah, honestly, it feels incredible to finally... I reserved tonight from F2, and I had 1 point before today's race in F2, and now I got a podium in the top tier, so... not bad.
I mean that's my fault there. I hold my hands up dearly. But I'd like to gather your thoughts. And coming into this race, of course, you got a very last minute call. You weren't sure if you were 100% going to be racing, but coming into this one with the confidence levels, fighting against drivers that you saw in last season on a pretty much whole different level. Did you really expect to have such a great race that you did?
Oh, no way at all. I literally jumped out the bath at 6:20, and then the race started at 7, so... yeah, like, I started 13th. I beat a couple of the esports guys in Q2, but they had really quick times, especially on the mediums. And then the start was alright, just kept in the train, and then because of battling, we obviously... dropped out of like the lead pack with like Jarno, Danny, etc. And then the pit stops come around, and then it was really close to decide whether to pit for slicks or inters. But I originally went for slicks, and then the track was getting wetter, so come back in for inters. I think Jake's AI pit him, so in the end, that actually saved his race. So Jake got a bit lucky there. What else happened? Oh yeah, on the restart, it was a very slow restart, so. I think I ended up going from like something ridiculous, but I made about 5 overtakes into turn 1, as everyone was just sliding around on slicks and just timing it right. So after all of that, I'm pretty happy with P2, and then obviously having like Job, Matteo, and Benham behind me at the end, I was bricking it for like the last few laps with the amount of warnings I had as well.
Oh well. That it seems like it was an up and down race for you, but you came out in P2. A brilliant performance from you there. I personally don't have any more questions for you, but Jack, please do ask Louis if you do have any questions here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we do remember that podium at Spa last season, of course. But I mean, to hop in with zero notice to take a podium in that one was just incredible. But I'm sure, hopefully now you can take some of the form into F2.
I'd rather be an F1 merchant. I think I'll leave that title there.
Well, anyways, Lewis, congratulations on that fantastic P2, and hopefully, well, maybe we'll see you back filling in at some point. But go enjoy your P2, and we'll speak to you at some other point.
Cheers, Jack. Cheers, Dan.
Yeah,
Lewis Welch, who hopped out with a bath about 40 minutes before the race. No practice, straight in. Well, of course, he had F2. He had F2, of course, but wow, what a drive, and up against those guys as well. You could say, he's had luck on his side or whatever, but at the end of the day, he made the right call when it counted, and he's come out in P2, so fully deserves it.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Of course, he's saying he'd rather be an F1 merchant. Of course, both me and him, we have first-hand experience on F2, and I won't tell you what went on last night, but if you want to go and check it out yourself, then do feel free to. But I think we'll wait just a couple more minutes for either Sebastian Job or Joni Tormala to come into the waiting room and get an interview. But I guess right now, whilst we're waiting for them, we could talk about next week. And we're headed, I believe, to the Temple of Speed, Monza, which is going to be a cracking race. If Zandvoort is this good, which isn't a great race for... it's not great for racing, what is Monza going to be like?
I mean, I was very much proven wrong tonight with what went on at Zandvoort. I can tell you from last, Monza was mental, absolutely mental. The top 6 or something were still in a massive train across the line at the very last moment, and that race actually went to Nicholas Matteo, who took that victory last season. It was Alvaro Carretone who took the win on the circuit, but it went to young Nicholas Matteo, who still holds a victory in that round as well. And just having a quick look as well. But yeah, I think the big story of tonight is that Jarno's amazing podium streak in PSGL has come to an end. And, well, I mean, I think he will still, I believe, hold the record for the most amount of podiums in PSGL in the end. I think it was 14 or 15 streak that he went through in the end. It had to come to an end at some point. I just didn't expect it to come to an end at his home Grand Prix at Zandvoort, where he took a win last season. But it's come to an end right now. I'm looking through everything as well, just to give you an idea of how crazy that race was. Sebastian Job, first ever points and the first ever podium. To give you context, he has not finished higher than 19th this season. Moving on from that, Nicholas Matteo, his best result of a P4. Patrick Sipos, best position of a P6. Carretone, believe it or not, this is also his best result, a P7 for him. Cedric Tomei also his first points of the season as well, coming from 19th on the grid, and Alessio Di Capo as well getting his first points of the season. And also to move on from that, this is Danny Moreno's worst result, Lucas Blakely's worst result, Jarno Opmeer's worst result, Tymon Schuter's worst result, Ruben Vallejo's worst result, and Simon Weigand's worst result this season, to give you just what has gone on there. Nobody's getting the points for fastest lap because I believe Lucas Blakely got it, but he's outside the top 10, so nobody gets that extra point in the championship. But I think this has, I hope, of course, that we can carry on like this, because this stuff like this is just, this is what we league race for. We league race for these crazy scenarios, these crazy races, and that safety car restart will be jogged in my memory for a long time. Watching Joni Tormala go past about 3 cars, Lewis Welch going past 5 cars into the first corner, driving past everybody like they were stopped. That's going to stay with me for a long time. That was immense, and a testament to, I think, and also a testament to how well these guys can drive, that the majority of them stayed on the circuit despite being on slick tires.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. It was a race of, I believe, highs and very low lows. I think we've given the 2 AlphaTauri drivers enough time to come in for their interviews, so I think we are going to call it there. A brilliant race we've just seen at Zandvoort. But if your PSGL hunger is not satiated, then of course you can join our Discord server. The link should be in the description. And make sure you also go to @PremierSimGL on Twitter to get all the updates of the ongoings in PSGL. Next week, the drivers will be taking on the Temple of Speed Monza. George should be back for that one, but I'd like to say once again, it's been my pleasure, my duty, and my honour to be commentating on F1 tonight. But next week, I will be back in F2. Huge thank you to Jack as well for joining me. It was lovely to commentate alongside him for the first time. But from us, I believe that is all we have to say. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you very, very soon. Good night, everyone.